Hey guys, welcome to Podcast Fandom, the official podcast for ProjectFandom.com. I'm your host, Nina.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are back. Sorry, I had a little mic issue. We are back to discuss House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 10, The Black Queen.
I can't believe we're here already.
Already? Like, what happened? How did it go so fast?
It's amazing. It's like it went so fast, and yet it feels like a whole other lifetime from when we first watched the premiere.
Yes. And part of that, I think, is obviously the controversial time jumps, but like the recasting, it does feel like at the end of it, now that we're at the end of it, it does feel like we got a lot.
Yeah.
And not just in covering a lot of time, but like a lot was established. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting though, because I feel like you said this to me last week, I feel like I can't imagine anybody else knowing this and saying this to me, but did you tell me that the dance itself only lasts like a year or two?
Yeah.
Okay. So, especially considering that we have like so much to come, but not that long compared to like Game of Thrones. Like that covered,
right?
What, a decade or more?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that they're doing, and it doesn't sound like there will be a need to do any more time jumps. It sounds like we're about to get a lot of stuff in a very short period of time. Knowing what you know, though, I think I asked you this at the beginning of the season. Now that the season is over, and it ended exactly where you said it was going to end.
That's right.
At Storm's End. Listen, oh my God. Well, we'll get into it when we talk about the episode. But, so I know I asked you this before, but I'm curious what you think now that you've seen this, kind of prologue or whatever. How many more seasons, realistically, even like say, how many more 10 episode seasons do you think this show could or should do? Yeah,
it's difficult because obviously the pacing is completely different in this season. And mm-hmm. I definitely see their plan there. I missed all the things that I wanted, but I think that we hit all the highlights that were needed to mm-hmm. back all this stuff up. Now, once we get into next season, they could slow it down Game of Thrones style to where we really are spending one episode in a day or, mm-hmm. A mm-hmm. week or mm-hmm. something like that. Mm-hmm. Personally, I can't see them dragging it out beyond 2 more seasons.
Right.
Unless they plan to do the aftermath, in which they could, but that stuff is a lot less interesting.
Yeah.
I don't see them pushing the actual dragon battles mm-hmm. past 2 more seasons. Mm-hmm. And I will be shocked if they can resist doing the whole thing next season.
Oh. Okay. And I'm like, I'm just like, I know when I go back and listen to this, that I made is going to make me laugh. Because I was just thinking wow, am I ready for that?
It's just
everything that's
horrible.
To come.
Yeah.
All the death in the dragon battles that I know is coming, I don't think I could handle all of that happening in one season. That would be, because that would basically be like everybody dying.
Right. And yes, and you could get dead to it, Yeah. So yeah. I think they can drag the dance itself out for 2 more seasons.
I wonder, in terms of, and I swear we're going to talk about this episode, but in terms of things that came before this, let me see if I can bring it up, because there was a photo of and I don't know if I got confirmation if it was legit or not, of all of the planned, confirmed or otherwise, or different stages that they're in, all of the planned HBO shows in this universe.
Oh, yeah.
And so going backwards, beyond like Aegon's conquests, what interesting things, like, would people be interested in seeing Robert's rebellion?
I would. Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
I'm so shocked that you said that.
Yeah. I don't know how long. I mean, they could do a season on it. Like, if they turn this show after the dance, if they turn this into like an anthology, then they could do a season on it. I mean, I wouldn't want to see a whole series on it.
Okay. Yeah, I can see. Yeah. That makes sense. Like, now we're turning this into like a Ryan Murphy production. But like, no, I'm trying to think, would I be interested? Because it's no different than this, right? Like, everything I knew about this, I heard from the show. Everything I know about from Game of Thrones. Everything I know about Robert's Rebellion, I heard about in Game of Thrones. So, yeah, I guess. And the whole Tower of Joy, was that what it's called? Mm-hmm. Like, all of that would be included. Okay, but Aegon's Conquest, I would like to see that.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. You know how much incest we'd get?
So much.
All the incest. Two sister wives.
And they wouldn't care. They would really want to do the incest because they were very into it.
Right. Yeah. There would be none of that bullshit. They just go for it. None of that hemming and hawing and shame.
Right.
And then, but we're also getting, wait, I can't. I'm scrolling looking for this photo, but there's have you seen the TikTok of the POV, you're a geriatric dragon just trying her best, but you start a civil war instead? And this Vagar saying, biting into Luke saying, this doesn't taste Dornish.
No.
He's like, Visenya, where are we?
Visenya.
Oh my god. Anyway, I hate that I laughed at that so soon after that tragic fucking episode. I'm still scrolling looking for this image. I should have just went to photos. But anyway, I do know one off the top of my head. The Sea Snake series. That's still
a prequel.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's great because I hadn't considered this, but someone in the thread said like we would get more Rhaenys as well, more Eve Best, assuming. I guess we're assuming. I don't know if they were together during these exploits of his.
I mean, they weren't. Like, he didn't. The thing that he says to her, she's much younger. So the thing that he says to her is something like, you are the only woman in the world who could get me to come back to port, or something like that. He's kind of all over the world for, I don't even know how old he is when they get together, but I would guess in his 50s. So.
Okay. So I found the image. Again, I don't know that I got confirmation on everything, but some stuff I know for myself. I remember reading about obviously Snow in development. That's post Game of Thrones. But then the Sea Snake in development, 10,000 ships in development. But then someone in the thread, when this photo was posted, said they thought that one got canned. And the 10,000 ships is the Nymeria.
Right.
Nymeria who?
Nymeria, the one that they refer to repeatedly in this series.
Yeah, in the book, that she takes her page.
Right.
That story. Okay. So that would be her story.
History.
Okay.
Yeah. And like the whole kind of like Dorne, that would be kind of the introduction of Dorne.
Got it. And then we have the Hedge Knight in development. Is that Duncan Egg?
Mm-hmm. Duncan Egg.
Okay. I don't think I knew that.
They kept saying that they weren't going to do it.
Okay,
and
so
all of a sudden they announced they were. So.
Oh, they did. So okay, so you have seen this being announced. Okay. And then the Golden Empire, which is in development and it's animated. Now, what is this? What time period?
This is the one I'm super iffy about. This is YT. So this is basically the Far East, but Westeros.
Okay. So there's a lot of room for racism, and
that's a concern. Yeah.
There's a lot of room for them to get that wrong. Okay. Okay. And then one more untitled animated series in development. Okay. All right. So the series is over. It ended, or the season. It ended exactly where you predicted that it would. I just want to say this. Last week when we talked about the next scenes on, and Lil Jace was like, send us. And I was like, send them where? Where the fuck are they gonna go? And I really thought Jace was gonna die. I really did. But then the episode starts with Luke and the painted table. I was like, oh, fuck.
No.
So when she was divvying up the routes that they should, who's going to go, she says Storms. I was like, oh, fuck. And then my stomach wasn't right for the rest of the episode.
Right.
What did you think?
Yeah. So, in fact, if you had asked me in the first episode where I thought the season was going to end, I would have said Storm's End. But I think I found this episode, I've been dreading it and feeling sick every time I think about it for like 3 months. And I found it as frustrating and yet fulfilling as I could have hoped for. Nobody can deny that Emma Darcy owned the episode. She just did phenomenal. They did phenomenal work, particularly the older actors as well, Rhaenys and Corlys and Damon. It was brilliant to see Rhaenys back in her full warrior princess element, and Corlys back on the council. I've completely missed him being on the small council. And I was surprised to see some departures from the book, both in the end scene, but also in some of the more potent quotes that I was kind of looking to see, particularly from Rhaenyra and Damon. Interestingly, Rhaenyra got a far more positive write from the book than Damon, who comes off extremely positive in this particular chapter, and she does not. And so they kind of flip-flop that. Yeah. So,
I feel like they decided, and that's their right, but clearly they decided that Damon is just not a good person.
Right. It seems to be.
They're just firmly, whereas there's like gray areas with Rhaenyra's decisions and Alicent's, but from what I've heard from you guys who, again, for whatever reason, this is your first time listening, I've not read the book that this is based on, but Sarah has. From what I heard from you guys who've read it, especially with Alicent, like she's gotten a way more positive slant on the show than she got in the books, and it sounds like they did the exact opposite with Damon, or more so where we talked about, you were telling me there's a lot of like ambiguous deaths and situations and who's responsible for this, and most time people thought it was Damon,
right?
And I feel like the show is like, it was probably Damon. Because he's
not
just
only that,
terrible.
But he didn't say that good quote. Somebody else did, and actually he's a piece of shit. Yeah,
right. Yeah. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So obviously the big headline is Luke's death, and Aemon's role in it. And, there's a lot of debate about that. As a book reader, I struggled with it at first with the choice to make Aemon less culpable I won't go so far as to call it an accident as much as it was preventable. His book sketch is more blatantly villainous. They do integrate some of the taunting and cackling. I'll be interested to see how this plays out in the premiere, whether he takes credit because he feels he has to, or some ego trip, or if this perspective comes from a maester who's taking this down. But in a way, it does align with the book when it says that the tragedy that befell Lucerys Valerian was never planned, and all the sources agree on that. But in any rate, it does feel entirely realistic that, given the setup with their antagonism and the storm and the difference in the dragon sizes, that it all spirals out of control like the Grease Lightning drag race, and, you know...
I was not expecting you to go there. But yes.
And it reminds us of how Alicent previously warned him that Rhaenyra's children won't be your playthings forever.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really loved is that we are finally digging into the nature of dragons, you know. In the very beginning, of course, Viserys told us that control over the dragon is an illusion, and the power brought Valyria to its doom. So the pinnacle of the episode, of course, is when the boys lose control of the monsters, and the dragons assert themselves and essentially start the war because that's their nature, and because of the imbalance between the youthful riders and their dragons, or the younger dragon and the older dragon. But before we get there, I love that we get to see the more powerful riders passing their thoughts and feelings through their bonds with their mounts. Cyrax experiencing the distress of Rhaenyra's birth. And Caraxes coming to heal and threatening the Kingsguard. And Cyrax then talking shit out on the bridge and, you know, expressing emotion that Rhaenyra is suppressing. And then Daemon reaching out to tame Vermithor, despite the fact that Daemon already has a mount. And then, as we've discussed before, Daemon himself is more dragon than man, and she struggles with him in this episode, bringing him to heel, and he keeps trying to snap the leash and lash out at Otto and then at Rhaenyra. And she literally sends him to his room on the Dragonmont, like, go play in the dragons.
When Jace asked her where he was, and her first response is like, gone to madness.
Exactly.
Gone to plot his war.
Yes, we get the infamous Targaryen coin flip, right?
Yeah.
Where, like, is he, you know, a peacemonger, or is he a warmonger? Has he lost it? And you know, we get this reemergence of dragon tendencies in Daemon. So this episode was so it was so fulfilling, like as a Game of Thrones fan, and of course just gut punching. I mean, when I rewatched it this afternoon, I cried so hard for so much.
That baby boy, right?
Yeah, and the baby.
And the baby, yeah. I'm so satisfied. Just extremely satisfied, but like with the whole experience, you know, and I'm sure I haven't listened to other podcasts in a really long time because I just don't have time, but you know, that phrase of like sticking the landing and can they do it and all that stuff. It's like, for me, it's sticking the landing is just being a good episode, but also like the dessert after a really good meal, which I know sounds really corny, but it was just a really fulfilling season. No real stinkers, I don't think, like in terms of like a whole episode that was just trash, you know. Some people, including myself, had some issues being able to see certain scenes, and we would have liked to have seen more of certain things in certain people, but like overall it was just so satisfying, and the finale just kind of proved that, you know, like I wasn't crazy. Like this show was, it's so good all the way through. And yes, Emma Darcy is so good in
Yes.
this role. And
Oh my
one
God.
thing I love that they do with their hands, that finger clutch. Do you know what I mean? Where it's
Yes.
like one hand clutches like the pinky, ring finger, middle finger only.
Right.
The thumb and the pointer just out there. And they stand there with that, like their hands clutched in that way in front of their stomach. And I feel like we saw Millie Alcock do that.
Yes.
And I never went back like I wanted to again because I don't have a lot of time, and particularly now with the move. But I would love to just, maybe I'll do it on the plane, just start a re-watch of the, just watch the entire season through. But I feel like little things like that just make it, again, like you feel like you spent time with these characters and in this world. I loved it. I loved everything about it. I didn't love one thing. Didn't love that. Okay, I mean, I didn't love some of the events, but I mean, just the way it was constructed, it was great. Okay, so let's get into it. So earlier today, when I started watching the episode for notes, the opening scene is Luke at the painted table, and he's again, because they don't know the condition of Corlys at this point, right? We talked about that last week, that we never got, not last week, the week before last, even, that we didn't know, his condition. And Luke is feeling, again, this pressure of possibly being very, very soon the Lord of Driftmark. And he's like, I don't want it. So I did like that. Jon Snow, I don't want it. And Donnie was on his way out the door, and he goes, well, he's don't have to worry about getting it now. I was like, get out. It's way too fucking soon for you to make. Luke
It's only been a few days.
Right. Now, this just popped into my head. Okay. What is a bigger gut punch? This or Rickon not zigging and zagging? Which one?
Oh my God. Good question. I guess Rickon.
Really? Oh my God, you're just shocking me tonight. Now, is that because you didn't know that was going to happen? Because this is, if I'm not mistaken, that's not right. Like, that doesn't happen in the book, right?
We haven't gotten that far.
Right.
Yet.
So is that why?
I think it's just because of even though it was predictable when you could see that he obviously wasn't going to make it because Ramsay's a psycho.
Right.
But I think it's just the years of anticipation. The fact that we put that many years into that character, and then he dies just the second you see him.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah. Okay. All right.
But emotionally, it's Luke.
Yeah, this baby. And you know what? It doesn't help for me. I don't know if I said this on the podcast before, but I've mentioned it to Donnie. He reminds me of Jack. He reminds me of our son.
His little curly hair.
Yeah, and I was just, sometimes he makes like these faces, and I'm like, Jack makes that face. So it's just hard, I was just like, oh, that precious baby. Right. I hate all of this, by the way. I know I've joked, especially when the show, or a character, I should say, has made a decision that I didn't agree with, that, I can't believe we're going to lose the dragons for this, but I didn't know we were going to lose Luke. That really hurts. Like, the fact that starts all of this, too, is just, it's so ugly. It's so, and it was so, all so unavoidable. Not just Aemon, but like, all of their decisions. Okay. But yeah, so he's scared, and he mentions to his mom that he's not perfect like she is.
It was adorable. Because of course we have watched her grow up.
Yes.
And everyone knows she's far from perfect. It was so cute.
And so I love that you see that, right? On her face, she's like, no, child. And I love when she calls him sweet boy. Yeah, this whole scene of her trying to reassure him again. But I will say, I felt a little like some type of way because it's like, in the end, it's kind of bullshit. And it's bullshit that this is put on children.
Right.
You know, this whole, you know, we don't choose our destiny and it's our duty and all of this stuff. It's just really, and we see the cost of it. But it was just, there was a part of me that I liked the interaction. I like seeing Rhaenyra be a mother to him. But what she was pushing on this child who clearly doesn't want this fucking responsibility was so, you know, it was kind of unnerving to see.
Yeah. I agree. I think they have to tell themselves that about destiny and everything, just, you know, because of the like shorter lifespans and war and all that kind of stuff.
So Rhaenys arrives, and she breaks the news. Oh, my family is back. She breaks the news of Viserys' death very bluntly.
Yeah.
But
very Rhaenys style.
Yes, but I get it though, because it's like when it's like sis, when I get to the rest,
right?
You know,
like this isn't even the important part.
Right. Like you saw him, you knew that was coming.
Right. We all knew he was going to die. Right. Moving on.
Let me tell you about this bitch. Let me tell you about that bitch, Allison. First of all, and this is me. This is not what Rhaenys said. This is what I would have said. I'd have been like, that bitch locked me in my room.
Right.
I would have told it in order with the biggest affront, which was that bitch had the audacity to lock me in my room way before I got to the usurping part.
Right.
I'm like, oh, and by the way, your brother's king.
Right. Me too.
Oh my God.
Let's do the petty stuff first.
Yes,
okay?
Absolutely. Because you know nobody's going to want to hear it later.
Right. It's your new room. Who cares?
We're going to be warring later. I got to get my shit out now. But yeah, they react to the news that Viserys is dead and that Aegon was sworn in as king and that Alicent had told I'm trying to remember the word. Did she say demanded? She said demanded, right?
Yeah.
That she
demanded you declare for Aegon.
Right. And I like how she kind of gives her that look like, and
right.
What'd you do?
Keep it going.
Oh, and I love that Damon points out, he's like, but you alive.
Right.
So
how are you a spy?
Right, like, so why is you here? And then he asks, you know, bluntly, and she says, I saw him crowned, you know, before all of these people, and that's when he's like, so,
yes,
that whore queen killed my brother and stole his crown, stole his throne, and you could have burned them all, but you didn't. I was like, yes.
Right. So this line in particular is interesting because the Greens in the book, the Greens call Rhaenyra a whore constantly. All of them call her a whore. The kids, babies, doesn't matter. Everybody calls her a whore. But the Blacks never call Alicent a whore. So it is interesting that they give this to Daemon. And this line is actually like a reworking of one of Rhaenyra's famous lines where she's like, you know, they murdered. It's a later line where she says they murdered my daughter and stole my throne. You know.
Right. Oh yeah, I think that. Oh, I don't want to miss. I think it was Aelin. I think. Gotta hope I'm the right person. Mentioned that was a line that was hers, and that they were bothered by the fact that they gave that to Damon, that line to Damon. If you hear my dog losing his shit, he's okay. He's all right. He's just nosy, and he's just upset that he can't come out.
And then when he says that, you know, they killed him, you know, everybody laughs like, oh my God, like the man is barely healthy. Barely wire. But I mean, you have to give it to him that he did sniff the cup. He was like, what's in here?
Yeah.
You're keeping him drugged all the time, and the timing is very suspicious.
I was just going to say, it's fair to assume murder when you couple it with usurping.
Right. When you're already doing the treason,
right.
It's murder.
Right. 'Cause it definitely looks like this is why this happened. Right. Note that no one tells Rhaenyra, and I just thought of this, not Rhaenys here and not Otto later, that Viserys told Alicent that he wanted Aegon.
Right.
Nobody mentions that to her.
Yeah.
And
nobody believes her.
I was just gonna say that they're all like, we don't need to mention that part.
Everybody knows that's bullshit.
Right. Whatever. We said it to the masses, but moving on. And he was more concerned with the appearances of legitimacy, the crown,
right,
the sword, right, the fact that people saw it, and there was a really interesting, I forget what she said. It might have been right like he made the accusation, yet you survived or something like that, where she said something and then he kind of moaned, Rhaenys said something to him and he was just kind of mulling it over in his head and trying to see if it passed the test, and it didn't. But all of this news makes Rhaenyra go into early labor.
Yeah.
And I hadn't realized that she was not that far along. I thought she looked bigger last week or the week before last. I keep forgetting we didn't see it last week. But here it's really when she started clutching her stomach, it was and started, I was like, wow, she's not even that big. She can't be that far along. This is not good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, obviously it's not real so hard to tell, but she was supposed to be kind of almost term, but more I don't know, probably at the end of her 7th month or something like that in the book. And, by your 6th baby, you probably look enormous,
Oh, yeah.
3 seconds pregnant, but I on one hand, I didn't love that her pains started immediately upon hearing it. I kind of would have liked to see her get a little wound up about it, but I mean, I thought the more I sat on it, I was like, sometimes it really be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many times have you not wanted your period in the middle of something super important?
Yes.
And that's what happened.
It's ding dong. So yeah, she announces the babe is coming. And at this point, it's interesting that Rhaenys, she says to Daemon, that the war, this was the line when she said, the war is gonna it's happening, right? Yeah. And that's when he moaned, he made that noise, but and then she goes, but it wasn't mine to start.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I said, I get it. I still would have done it. But that's just
right. I mean, last week I think it felt less genuine to say something like that. But this week, the way that she says it,
yes,
it makes more sense this week because she's bound to end up a vassal under Rhaenyra, more likely than anyone else. They might sit it out, but I think she understands that she can't sit it out because they've got the Navy and the dragons.
Yep.
And it's not her job to take the first strike. She wants Rhaenyra to be the one to command that or not.
And to be fair, last week she didn't say that. They said that on the after show.
Right.
Last week we were like, what the fuck are you thinking? Like, where are you going?
Right.
We didn't know what she was thinking last week, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, we could speculate that it's not her place, or she was worried that it would look like she was committing the treason.
Right.
You know, Uno reversed the treason.
Yeah.
But this week she explicitly says that it wasn't hers to start. And interestingly enough, she then prepares to leave. She's like, girl, you need to go.
Right.
Because they coming for you. I was like, wow. Like, what? Like, do you think, like, that she... It was just weird. Like, where did she think Rhaenyra would go?
Right. Like, again, go where, Kristen? You know?
Right, like, flee?
Where
like,
are we going to hide with this household full of dragons?
Right. But she does make it clear they're coming for you and your children. She goes into labor, and the maester confirms that it is too early. But Rhaenyra's like, it's fucking happening. Like, I don't fucking know that it's early. Yes, but I mean, here the fuck we are, maester. Thank you.
Yes.
Fuck you and your chains.
Right.
She gets so fucking gully when she's in labor. She's the best.
She does. Especially to men in the room.
Yes.
I love how they film this, where he's like muttering this to the midwife.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden Rhaenyra is in his face.
Yes.
And he like, he turns and he's smiling when he looks at her. Like, he has to like fix his face
Yes.
to look at her. Like,
yes.
It's okay, you know?
She got all up in his face. It was great. Meanwhile, Daemon is at the painted table with their kind of council and prepping for attacks. And it's interesting here that he says if they attack, it'll be by stealth.
Yeah.
Because they know, like, it would have been exactly as Otto had commanded.
Right.
Where the fuck is Westerling?
That's what I'd like to know.
He's like Gendry right now. Gendry
Right.
was rowing. He's riding. He's
like,
throwing his horse.
I read all these cop dramas where they're like, I'm just going to take one more case, and they die on the case, and that's not going to happen to me. I'm going back to the Crown Lands or wherever the Westerlings are from, and I'm out of here.
Like, they legit just, what's his name? Gavin McTavish, right? They just Judy Winslow'd him. He just left.
He's gone. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if he turns up next season.
Right?
Or if he just never comes back.
Oh my god, I so want to do again a comparison of all the things, because again this feels very Sir Barristan Selmy.
Oh, yeah.
But also now with this episode, I feel like we're gonna have like a brother battle again. We had the Hound in the Mountain. Now Eric very clearly was like, no, I'm not with the shits, and declared for the queen. So now they're on opposite sides. So now I'm looking forward to that, because that has to be a thing, right? Like, you don't do that. You don't put brothers on opposing, like, you just don't. They're so... Yes. Is George R. R. Martin just retelling the same story every 200 years?
Basically, yes.
Sometimes with dragons. No, both times with
around.
Dragons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Renaming twins, switching them around.
Oh my god. But yeah, so he's prepping for an attack, and he mentions that if they attack, it'll be by stealth. Like, you know, that they know they're on some bullshit. So, you know.
Right. Yeah. He knows Otto.
Yes. And then he tells their, I guess now, well, not yet, but Queen's Guard, to conscript the dragon tamers or the dragon keepers. They're capable fighters, which is so... I love that, because I think we talked about this, I think in the episode with the the pink dread. Was that the pig's name?
Yes.
Excuse me, the dragon's name. That the dragon keepers are, they all speak High Valyrian, and I'm assuming they are Like, where are they from? They have to be, like, descendants also from Valeria, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I don't know much about them, like, as, like, I don't feel like I know any of their names or anything. But the idea, though, I think I said when we talked about this before, the idea that they can handle these dragons, like, they have to be, like, capable, you know?
Right. Tough.
So, yeah. Oh, my God. So, just the thought of us getting that's exciting. Mm-hmm. And then he also mentions... Oh, no, this is later. I have it written later. I'm sorry. Meanwhile, the boys are sparring on the beach. Jason and Luke, and Rhaenys arrives to tell them that Rhaenyra wants them.
Yeah. I think Jace was being, after having seen Viserys in person and seeing how rough he is, I think Jace is feeling the pressure. Because last week he was freaking out about his length, or not last week, but the last time we were on Dragonstone, he was freaking out about High Valyrian. Now he's freaking out about his training. Yeah. So, he's just taken out on his younger brother. And I
mean, he's had a taste of Aemon last week or the week before last.
How far behind they are.
Yes, he saw it firsthand, and he was like, "We're not ready."
Right, and even though the book says, that these boys, and it's something that somebody asked about in the group, I think it was Lainey. She said, how capable are these kids? And I said, well, according to this book, it says that they're very skilled. They're solid lads. They're skilled in swords and all kinds of stuff. They've served as squires, so they're really capable kids. But they haven't been trained by a psycho killer.
Right. So, right. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to say he reminded me of Kristen. In that scene, the way he was rough, and to the point where the other guy stepped in and was like, might I suggest that you kind of lighten up a bit so that he may learn what it is you're trying to teach, And I was like, look at you. And I want to say, I love the fact that Rhaenys was still here. Yeah. That she's the one, she kind of stepped in like auntie mode.
Yes. Yeah. Actually doing her family thing. Yeah.
It's interesting when Rhaenyra's still in labor and she tells the boys that Viserys has died, that Luke's reaction is Viserys, because he was expecting his other grandsire.
Right. He was like, that's not the news I expected.
Right. It's so it's like, I had not considered that. Like, the first time I watched the episode, I didn't get that. Like his delivery of that line, I was like, why did he react that way? But then I was like, oh, the second time I watched it, I was like, oh, he started the episode thinking that his other grandsire was going to die.
Right.
And then he had to...
Yes. Yeah. He thought he was about to get a job, not that they were about to go to war.
Right, exactly. Different stress. Jace, so when Jace, she tells the boys what happened and how they weren't going to do anything just yet. This whole time she's like rubbing her sides and like her upper, like her thighs and her hip bones, and I was like, I felt that. Yeah. I was like, I remember that. Right. Oh, I remember that feeling. But I just want to say, Emma Darcy in the scene did just like the earlier childbirth scene, but this one in particular, just the way they walked around the room with it, like it just felt
extremely realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, so she has to tell Jace, though, to basically don't let these motherfuckers do shit without me. Like, right. And she reminds him that whatever claim is left of hers is his. Is also his. Yeah. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
It just brings us full circle with her, because this has been her biggest fear, that she's got this destiny, but she has always been afraid not only of dying in childbirth, which is the woman's battlefield, as her mother tells her, but now she can't even do her queenly role, they're all having this meeting and making plans and rolling out the war binders.
Right.
Damon, his mood boards and whatever that he's been Pinteresting since he was 20 years old. But she can't even get in there because she's stuck doing this and already knows that it is going to be futile, that nothing is going to come of it, and she may even lose her own life. Right. So it's just such a horrible scenario for her.
Back at the painted table, they bring up the fact that Corlys' fever broke and he has set sail from Evenfall. Yeah. Like, where is he going? It's like, nobody knows.
Right.
And I love the idea, like, they just throw it like it's possible this nigga just left again. Like, he's like, fuck his wife, fuck this war. Like, he doesn't even know anything. Like, the fact that he would wake up and go anywhere but where his wife is, or Driftmark. It's like, where is he going?
I mean, that's the whole deal with him, right?
Yeah, right? Or he's going back to the Stepstones. Can't call it. We don't know. It's Corlys.
And the speaker here is Bartimaeus Celtigar. So,
of course it is.
Right? So
of course that's his name.
Right. Great name. But he mentions Lords Darkland, Massey, and Bar Aemon. And I just wanted to point out that House Celtigar is also of Old Valyria. So they do not mention this, but they were a vassal house of the Targaryens, and they left Valyria with them. So they do have Valyrian blood, like the Valerians, but also they aren't dragon riders. So, and then the other guy is Lord Staunton, and he's from Rook's Rest, and all the other houses that they mention, so those two guys, and then the other houses...
Dark Massey.
Right.
Okay.
And Bar Aemon are, they're all around that. I'm making a motion like you can see me, but it's the mouth, the whole mouth around Dragonstone. So the hook is where the Massey is from. So he's down on the point, so that it's great to have those guys.
Right, because they're a barrier. Guys. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're all close and within a short hop, so that's why they came over immediately. But then the whole effort is that they need to lock these guys down and then start moving outward.
Outward, yes. Now, wait, I forgot what I was going to say. It was about these guys. Oh, the fact that I was writing this down, so I'm looking at my notes. So the Celtigar, is that how you say it? So it's interesting that because I wondered about that, right? Like with the dragon tamers or keepers or whatever they're called, like they have to be from Valyria, right?
Yeah.
Old Valyria. Yeah, right? Like, so I wonder, like, what's their story? Give me an animated series about those motherfuckers, please.
Right. That would be so interesting.
Right?
And
like what are their names?
More of these guys.
Yeah, like, what are their, like, who are they? Like, this interesting, awesome fucking job. And, clearly they came over with the Targaryens as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway. So when they're doing all of this, Daemon's, plotting, and you can hear Rhaenyra in labor, in pain, screaming in the background. One of the guys is like, "Do you want to talk to the maesters?"
Right.
And Daemon looked at him like, "Are you fucking new?" Like, no.
The one thing I don't want to do
like,
is get in between Rhaenyra and the maester when she's giving birth.
It's like, I'm trying to war right now. You shut up. I don't got time for that shit.
Yeah.
So when Daemon announces that he'll go meet with the Tullys himself, this is when Jace comes in and was like, He's like, my mama said.
Right. My mama said.
My mama said, y'all can't do nothing without her until she put that baby out. Until she pushed that baby out. Y'all are not supposed to do nothing. And Daemon was like, that's cute. So anyway.
Right. So you need to go fly with Vermax and keep an eye on things. And I notice how Daemon, he looks down like, shit, she busted me. and then he like raises his voice when he says, "Oh, you're here. You can go outside and be busy with other things." Like he's trying to save face that he got.
Like, go ride your bike outside. Go ride your dragon.
Right. And Jason's like, did you hear what I said? I'm not gonna just go outside, Damon. Like, he uses his first name, not to his face, but he never calls him anything but Damon.
Yeah. When he asked his mom earlier, where's Damon?
Where's Damon? Yeah.
So the man who was sent off to send the ravens, like, later when he brings it up, but we'll get there. But here, he was like, he doesn't know who to listen to, right? And the guy, like, leaves the room, and then he tells him, let me show you something. And I was like, uh-oh. I was kind of nervous for this kid. I don't know what the fuck.
We gotta go do some crime.
This is kind of treason, actually. But, so he takes two of the, now these were, white, gold cloaks or white cloaks? I'm trying to, like, who are these? Were these the gold cloaks that were loyal to Damon back when he ran the City Watch? Or are these, like, who are these guys? Am I supposed to know who they are?
These are two white cloaks. They're two Kingsguard, official Kingsguard, and they are assigned to Rhaenyra and her heir, Jace. So that's
via Viserys.
Right. Right.
So they're basically like her secret like Chelsea Clinton's Secret Service.
Yeah, exactly. She gets a couple of these guys full time.
Just like when it was Kristen.
Exactly.
The main one. Okay, gotcha.
And so they can be off, doing chores or whatever. So this is the bald one is Laurent Marbrand, and the one with hair is Stefan Darklin. So and that he's tied to that Darklin house. So.
That Darkwing Duck motherfucker. That's
there you go.
Queen Council.
You're right. So they just happen to be there
on
assignment. Okay. So that's why he feels the need to be like, are you sure you're going to stay?
I got it. Because they're like Rhaenys right now. Like, you can't go. I mean, either you die or you stay and work, but you're not leaving.
That's right.
Okay, gotcha. So, yeah, this, like, when Damon is like, it's so uncomfortable because he basically is like fucking history. He's like, who were you first sworn to? And then who? And do you recognize the line of succession? He goes through this whole fucking thing, and they are both basically like, duh. Like, yeah, we fucks with Rhaenyra. We're not stupid. But just in case you might be stupid, the little wind-up sound. Like, I'm sorry, Caraxes makes the best dragon noise. I just love it. It's like
every time
fucking jet. Like just, ugh. And he's like, so, like, just unsettling. Like, the way he looks and slinks in that long fucking body. And then he hasn't learned to have drip on, which I didn't notice. Donnie noticed, like, that fucking Targaryen fucking pendant right at his throat.
Right. Can you imagine dragging that all the way down his neck?
Yeah, who wants that? That's what I'm saying. We need a series about those motherfuckers because that's who puts the saddles on.
Right.
I want to know, like, right? Like, what kind of life are you living that you can fucking saddle dragons for a living? Come on. That's an interesting story. Give me that animated series. Let me write it. No, don't.
Right.
So that the whole internet mad at me. No, thank you.
I do. I feel the same way. Every time Caraxes shows up, he might be my favorite because he just cracks me up so much. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he does this and just turns up at all the right. He just I know he just loves being like.
I just remembered you mentioned this earlier. The connection and it's like, I think I might have mentioned this earlier in the season, but just like how they know without these voice commands to do certain things, like the time that Caraxes just shows up right when Otto was talking that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Because it can't be planned, but it's almost like he senses Damon has summoned him, Yes. And here, it's like, what was the command? what's the command in High Valyrian for chill back here, be really fucking quiet, dragon? I'm going to give this speech, and when you hear me say, so I'm going to give you a choice, that's when I need you to come out. Like,
yes.
What?
Yes.
How does that happen? But it happens, and it makes perfect fucking sense.
Right. Can you imagine them, like, working it out ahead of time? It's like Ocean's 11, where they have, you know, all these names for the different grifts that you run. Like, okay, this time
Right.
we're going to do the loop-de-loo, where you come around the side and go, wee!
And then later he's like, it was great, but I think you came in just a little bit too early. You cut off my last line.
But some people do not like that. Like, they didn't like how he threatened the Kingsguard, because they felt like, well, that's kind of unnecessary because they've already vowed. But like I was saying, they're just here on assignment, and they
see that. I don't know. Was that clear? How was that clear to people? Did I miss something?
It wasn't. No,
Okay.
it wasn't clear.
Okay.
And but this is, I think, using dragons as a threat was something that that even Jaehaerys loved to do. Now, we've heard a lot about Jaehaerys, and we will continue to hear a lot in this episode about Jaehaerys. I have a bunch of notes on him. But even though he was peaceful and the conciliator and all that stuff, he loved using Vermithor, who Daemon goes to visit in the mountain, to ensure loyalty. Like, for instance, there was one time that is one of my favorites where we visit a Baratheon, Rhaegar Baratheon, who's been acting up, and he,
of course,
after Jaehaerys goes to visit him personally and bring him to heal, he's like, Rhaegar's like, hey, so now that we've come back to an understanding, like, do you want some of my nieces or nephews to be like a cupbearer or something like that? And he's like, Rhaegar, let's just go for a stroll. Let's just go for a walk. You want to go for a walk? Let's go. And he knows that Vermithor is eating a bull, and so they
eating
just go
a what?
And, like, a bull.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you said a boat. I was like, why?
No. Yeah. Hey, you know, they do what they want. And so literally Jaehaerys stands there as he's eating this giant bull and scratches him under the chin. And it's like, you know, I don't need that. You know, like, I have your word, right? And so the maester, who's like taking notes in the book, he said, the maester heard the words he didn't speak. Every man and child and maid in the Stormlands is my hostage while I ride him. So, you know, that's just, and you have to imagine that if Daemon has been doing his digging into the Targaryen histories and Pentos and reading all these chronicles, that he's learned all these little tricks.
So at the end of the day, Jaehaerys was also a Targaryen.
He was.
He had a little dragon in him, you know.
Honest, yeah.
It just feels
fuck shit every other page.
Every Targaryen has some level of dragon in them. Some have more than others, and the ones with the most go the craziest, I guess.
Yes.
So, and this was a lesson to... I want to go back and say thank you for pointing that out, because, again, it was not clear to me that these guys were there on an assignment, because, again, I wasn't sure what to call them, because I recognized them as White Cloaks, but I was like, would she have... like, are they... she's not a queen yet. Like, why are they here? I wasn't exactly sure who they were. So, yeah, that was not clear to me, but it did feel like he took two random Kingsguard down to this bluff to threaten them, to make a point to Jace. And I was like, for why? I mean, I love to see your Caraxes always. And of course we got that great double profile shot of the two of them. Yes. Like, yes, frame that, so please. Good. So not complaining, but yeah, I didn't understand like why these guys, and yeah, whether or not you feel like this is effective or not. This is like, again, this is Daenerys all over again. Oh my God, the comparisons with the Tarleys, right?
Yep.
So Rhaenyra eventually delivers the baby early, and as she is in labor, refusing the help of her midwives, delivering this baby on her own, there are flashes to Syrinx in distress as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't think those cuts were the best, but I got the gist.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. They were like, I don't know why they made the decision to like do it the way they did it, but I think it would have, if they were going to do it this way at all, I wish they had been the scenes of the clips of the dragons had been a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like they were, it felt like a horror movie cut,
yes,
which felt out of place in this show.
Right. Yeah, it looked like something screaming in a pit, like Alien or something.
Yeah, like yeah. I feel like the focus should have been on the dragon a little bit longer than we got.
I agree. A lot of people wondered what was going on there.
I don't know. It's weird because I feel like with some stuff, it's like they're not doing enough. Mm-hmm. But then you don't want them to do too much. Like there's that line of like where everybody is like, we get it, you know, like, okay, we're not dumb, you know. But then there are times where it's just like, how the fuck were you supposed to know that?
Yeah.
You know? So what? Oh, so the baby. Donnie and I have had disagreements about this. And I think I might be like spoiled because I was sure, or maybe I'm just right and Donnie's wrong, but the baby looked like it had something wrong with it. Besides the fact that it was still like the way the women reacted, the midwives, it was clear like the baby was already gone. The cord was around its neck. But it felt like, I don't know, the head shape, the way it just, I don't know. And so Donnie just thinks it was just because it was premature and stillborn, but I thought it had like deformities. And I don't even know if that's the right word.
No, yeah, that is correct. So in the book, this is one of those dragon babies. So she's, you know,
like Daenerys.
Right.
Okay.
Like Daenerys, like the baby that was supposed to kill Rhaenyra as well. Now, we don't know if that is a real thing or if that's just the Maesters who hate the Targaryens and they're saying this stuff. But,
right.
But yeah, this one, so in the book she comes out kind of scaly. There's a big hole in the chest and there's like a little stubby tail. So it was definitely never going to survive. But in this case, I did see that like the skull was really misshapen. It was almost kind of like, I don't know, like cauliflower on one side.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like the skull wasn't fully formed maybe. So, yeah, definitely incompatible with life for sure.
You know, I like the idea of this not like, I kind of wish it, I don't know. I wish that they didn't do like dragon babies. Like I would rather it just be like these things just happen to women sometimes, right? And even if you want to say, well, with as much incest as they had going on, that, you know, but like I like the idea, and I feel icky saying this, but if it was just like sometimes these things happen, but because the Maesters are so uninformed, or like you said, maybe some issue with Targaryens, this is just some bullshit men came up with to document. Like, do you know what I mean? Like these babies were, you know, unfortunately miscarried, stillborn, but other than that, like the whole scales and tails and all of that, like that shit, I think it would be more interesting if that stuff was just shit men made up in the books, you know, because doing men things.
Exactly. And the more that we experience this in the show, the more I'm feeling myself lean towards the idea that they just made that up. They just didn't understand. I mean, obviously they made it up because it's a book, but that the idea of the Maesters just making it up to, for whatever reason, whether they hate the Targaryens, whether they're warning against blood magic, whether they hate women, whether they don't understand premature birth and infant development or whatever. Yeah. I loved that the show in this case just focused on we have seen, not that we need House of the Dragon to teach us about pregnancy and childbirth, but we've all been so saturated over the last 30, 40 years with TV and movie births to the point that most American adults don't know how it works.
Yeah.
They don't know what birth really looks like until they're in the middle of it, and then they think, oh my God, what is going on? They don't understand pregnancy. They don't understand how people get pregnant, how they remain pregnant. We're in the middle of a political battle over, pregnancy and miscarriage and childbirth and abortion, and they just people now don't get it. So maybe this is as traumatic and horrific and tragic as this was, and shocking, and I feel for anybody who has been through this scenario and they weren't expecting this scene, and maybe this brought up horrific feelings for them. I think that maybe it was good for people to see this happen.
I'm sorry, I was thinking something and I kind of lost it. Oh, the acting. We talked about this before.
Yeah. Oh, God.
I think a lot of people thought the show maybe went too far, and to your point that there are adults who don't know. Well, I mean, I'm going to be honest, there are a lot of men who just don't know how that whole area works and what comes out of where. Right. And unfortunately, a lot of them are, responsible for making the rules about our bodies, laws about our bodies. But I was watching somebody react to, I think, episode 6, where Rhaenyra gave birth to Joffrey. And one guy looked at the other and he was like, is it really like that? And I was like, Jesus Christ.
It's so much worse.
Right? It's like, please shut up.
It's like this. It's gross.
Right.
And people trying to make it prettier is why we have this problem.
Exactly.
You can't shame people into having pretty births.
Right.
That's not how it works.
It's not.
We can evolve, technologically and emotionally and intellectually as much as we possibly can, but there's one thing you cannot change, and that's how disgusting the process of reproduction is.
It's just it's a lot, you guys. If you don't know, it's a lot. Daemon arrives after it's all over to find Rhaenyra rocking the baby's body, in which she preps for the burning of the body. She preps the baby herself.
Yes. That was beautiful.
It really was.
And it kind of reminded me of how she told him when he was trying to talk her into this whole process as a young woman, to accepting her role in sex and childbirth and all that. And she said, I just wish to be left in solitude. Yeah. And so she's in solitude.
Eric arrives as they're burning the baby. So the baby's name is Visenya, but I don't think they say that in the episode, right?
Yeah, they never do. Yeah.
So I think somebody in the thread said it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Visenya. Right. They burn her body, and then Eric arrives. They're about to square up, and he was like, "Yo, I don't want no smoke. We good." And then he pulls out Viserys' crown. Oh my god. Oh. I was like, this squirrely motherfucker. How did he get that?
Right?
Last we saw that was on Viserys' corpse.
He has mysterious ways.
And now, oh my God, I just had a thought, and I will scream, and you couldn't tell me nothing. This is Eric, right?
It's Eric, yeah.
Okay, because I'm like, how he get that crown?
Yeah, I think he just, when they were fighting and everything, you know,
Allison didn't give it to Eric.
No, he backs up, you know, and I think he just walks right back. He goes and gets all his shit and gets Rhaenys, and I think in between him getting his things and putting his armor on and whatever, okay, he stops by Viserys' room and nabs that, and then goes and gets Rhaenys.
Okay.
Yeah. Because there is a bit of a, you know, a bit of a thing.
I'm gonna watch that episode again, and he better have a bag, or else I'm calling conspiracy. I'm gonna say that's Eric, and Otto gave him that crown. Because also, Otto did not look like, where the fuck you get that crown? I expected him, but I guess if he sees, well, no, because Eric is there. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
They face off later, right? I'm not mistaken, right?
Right.
Eric is with, I'm sorry, I'm eating tiramisu. Eric is with Otto. Okay, never mind.
Right. Eric and some other guy that we haven't seen before.
Okay.
Not Kristen, thankfully.
Never mind.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Kristen had shown up too? Mm-hmm. Like, it was bad enough that Otto showed up.
Listen,
but if Kristen had been on that,
there would be no. Listen, I was gonna say there would have been no reason for Sarek not to fucking like. I'd have been mad. I'd been like, wait a minute, 2 episodes in a row, and y'all not burning motherfuckers
right.
that need burning. No, this will not stand. No,
it would be like the end.
Yeah, no,
that's the end of the series.
No, I feel like the very next time Kristen comes into contact with either Rhaenyra or Daemon, that motherfucker needs to die, and if he doesn't, I'm gonna be mad.
Yeah.
I feel like the very next time Kristen comes into contact with any of Team Black's dragons, that motherfucker needs to die. And if he doesn't, I'm going to be mad.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. Okay, see, you done got me mad, Sarah. Anyway. So Eric does his whole pledge again. I was like, really? Is that necessary? Do you really have to fill out the job application again? Right. I don't feel like he should have to fill out the job application again. I feel like, you know.
They do. Yeah, they have to re-vow to the next person.
Oh, okay. And I guess if you come bearing what the other side sees as a treasonous crown, I guess you should. Yeah. But
it gave me chills. You know? Like, first of all, it reminded me of when she turns, like, they're burning their daughter's body, and she turns around, and there he is, walking up the hill. It very much reminded me of Dany walking out of the pyre with dragons.
Yep.
You know, like, she has paid the blood price to become the Dragon Queen, and she didn't intend to pay it, and she didn't want to pay it. But
same
here
thing.
It is.
Here we are. Notice, her theme is playing.
Yeah.
Ramin Djawadi was in his motherfucking bag when he composed this. My God, this motherfucker, he knows how to, every show, each season, give you just this signature piece of music that's just going to fuck with you. It's this. For me, it's this.
That's the one. Yep.
And everyone bows before her after Eric first, Daemon, after placing his brother's crown on her head, calls her queen. Everyone else in attendance, it's like the wave. But yeah, it's like the wave, except you go down instead of up. And it just happens. Everyone except Rhaenys. I love a petty princess. I love her so much. She's like,
Yeah.
And it's not even questioned. It really, I know that they're like cousins, but she really treats her like that auntie that you just don't fuck with. It's like, it's okay. She don't have to bow. That's my auntie. Right. That's my auntie Ray niece. No, she got bad knees. We don't.
Right. And they shared a little bit of a look. I liked it.
Yeah. It's like, you know what? Auntie should have been queen, so she gets a pass, right?
Yeah. She's a princess. She does not have to bow.
Yeah, I like it. And then the walk. Oh my God. This walk, because she's still in the, the cape and stuff. She's burning her daughter.
Right. Her hair's unbound still.
Oh, but it just looks so good. The slow walk to the table, which they have prepared. We see this happening after she's crowned. They're preparing the lights under the table. Oh, this is gorgeous.
Yes.
Aegon was in his motherfucking bag when he had this table constructed. Stannis was not in his bag when he fucked that woman on this table.
No. It's not. I don't know. I mean, Aegon might have supported that. But,
yeah.
He was kind of a freak. But
he was a Targaryen after all.
Yeah. It's always nice finding, bonus uses for things. I know that they had this light up feature.
Yeah, this is so gorgeous. I love this. I loved everything about this.
Yeah.
And they get the pieces ready, right? They got their little war pieces to put on the table. They're getting their swords ready. Rhaenyra is the queen's cupbearer, and she nods, and I love this because she invites her to the table.
Yeah.
It's not just standing there pouring the drinks and not, come to the table, stand here, listen. And she offers the same to Baela.
Yeah. Something that was not offered to her, but she openly offers to these young women.
And it makes sense, especially when later Daddy is like, Baela has Moondancer. He just offering motherfuckers up to war. And I'm like, is Baela in the military? Like, how did this? This is like, again.
No, you're signing her up,
right? This is like fucking Bill telling Chelsea, okay, suit up. Like, what?
Right.
Why am
Chelsea
I in this?
Has a car. She can drive over here. Yeah.
It's like, I named my fucking dragon Moondancer for a reason. That's not a fighting name. What you mean? But anyway, so there's the planning, and she asked, this is that awkward moment too where her guards are like, they continue to walk with her, and she's like, it's okay, you can stay. She don't know what to do.
Right. But I love that her people seem really anxious to protect her. Even though she's in the room with allies, they're following her. Even at the beginning, the King's Guard was shadowing Rhaenys.
Yes, I noted that. When she stepped forward, the King's Guard stepped forward too. Yeah, we got closer to her. Mm-hmm.
Whereas with Aegon, everybody's trying to get the fuck away from him.
So with him, it's like, please kill this motherfucker. Please. So she wants to know who they have on their side. It is mentioned that the Starks are loyal, and where they go, the North follows. I was like, yeah.
Woo.
I'm so excited to go to Winterfell next season. I hope it has to look like really good, right?
Oh yeah. I am dying to see who they. That's who I'm looking for. Is in the casting news. Who are they going to cast for Cregan Stark?
What is he supposed? No, so later later we learn that he is closer in age to Jace than he is to Rhaenyra. So how old is he supposed?
That's surprising.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like they're gonna make them be like
youngish, but
okay. So it surprises you that he would be as young as Jace, like a teenager.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
And he might be, because of the way she phrased it. I mean, he could be like in his 20s.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like, but either way, I can see, like, I want it to be like a, well, first of all, they better act right. They better pledge to Rhaenyra because, oh no. See, I didn't even consider that it wouldn't go well.
Yeah, I mean, like they say, like the Starks, if there's the one thing that the Starks do, it's keep about.
Yeah, you know? That's true. Like Ned was, if it gets them killed.
Exactly.
But I, for some reason, when she was like, hopefully you'll have like more in common. I don't know. I pictured the Winchesters.
Right. Oh my God, that would be so funny.
I'm like, okay.
That works.
And then then I will say, I want to say this now, so I don't, because I don't think I wrote it down. Even like when she said that, then I was like, oh fuck, Luke's gonna die. Like everything was pointing to Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then, this is where that guy snitches. He was like, yeah, I've already sent some ravens to the Riverlands or whatever. And she looks at Damon like, really? You did what now?
Motherfucker. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like, she points out, this is something that she would do when she was allowed to talk, is she at least got to know some of the nature and personality of the lords, right? Mm-hmm. That's something you're supposed to know. You're not just supposed to like boss everybody into follow what they're doing.
Right.
So she's like, really? Because Lord Grover is fickle and needs to be swayed. You know, he has to be convinced. Like he's somebody you're not just going to be able to say, hey, remember what you said?
Now,
you're going to have to say, like, this is how many men we've got, and we're not going to lose.
Now, didn't we encounter a Grover with the Starks? Or am I mixing this up? Or is that Glover? Glover, okay.
Yeah. Lord Grover is part of the Sesame Street group. His son is named Elmo.
I was like, what? Then she's like, what's up with Driftmark? And Rhaenys is like, girl, don't question me. That's not... She's like, what part of I stay in my lane don't you get?
Right. And he's on the boat.
Right. He's on his way. And when he gets here, he will let you know.
Right.
Don't ask me again. Then this one dude, he says, everybody, well, at least what I was thinking. He was like, all this talk of men is moot. We got dragons.
Right. That was Celtigar.
Celtigar, okay. Leave it to someone with Valerian blood to be like, dude, what are we doing? Why are we fucking with these Westerosis like this? Pull up. But she's like, they have dragons too. And he's like, yeah, they have three adults, right?
Adults, yes.
And he goes, we have Syrax, Caraxes, and Meleys. And then Rhaenys is like, you have whomst?
Excuse? Who? Do you have another dragon named Meleys?
It was the best. I love her so much. She was like, you presumptuous motherfucker.
So good.
Then he says, the boys have Vermax, Arax, and Tyraxes?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm assuming that's Joffrey's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I think that is hilarious that he counts, like, he's like, well, yes, the Greens have 3 adults, but we have all these dragons, and he lists their 3. First of all, Meleys isn't available. Then he lists the boys. The only one who's really even close to fighting age is Jace's. The other 2 are, as we see, quite little. And Tyraxes is like a hatchling. Like,
I was just going to say, like, when he said the 3, like, he's naming them, he says, your boys or the boys. And, I'm like, I'm going to assume that's Joffrey's. And I was like, I know Joffrey ain't big enough to be going to war. What are we doing?
Right. Like Tyraxes is like 3 feet tall.
But I also like that when he goes, Baela has Moondancer, Baela was like, yup, I fucking do. Baela is about it, okay?
She's been waiting for the call.
Yes. Then he mentions Not to mention unclaimed dragons. Sea Smoke still resides on Driftmark, so that's Rhaenyra's dragon.
Interesting that he mentions Sea Smoke, considering he knows Rhaenyra isn't dead.
Yeah, and he specifically says, like, unclaimed, so still keeping to the whole Rhaenyra's dead, we can just get somebody to claim him. Right. Even though he knows that he's not. Yeah. And then he says Vermithor and Silverwing dwell on the Dragon Mount. Plus, he mentions, not to mention the 3 wild dragons.
Yeah.
And when he mentions that Vermithor and Silverwing are riderless, they cut to Rhaena. So it's clear she still ain't got a dragon. Yeah.
Right.
I like how they cut to her because her little ears perked up. Say that one more time.
And I guess she hasn't tried to get to know these.
Oh, got it.
Although they are quite old. Vermithor and Silverwing. As I mentioned, Vermithor is Jaehaerys' dragon. Silverwing was his wife Alysanne's dragon. So they're both nearly 100 years old.
And I saw... Hold on a second. Hold on. Did I close it? I might have. I'll see if I can find it again. I saw something about Vermithor that I thought was really interesting. Hold on. Okay, I found it. All right. It said that Vermithor often coiled with Silverwing. Is that fucking, or is that just literally like coiling around each other?
Yeah, I mean, they nest together, but you have to, I mean...
Are they friends, or what? I think
they're mates. Yeah. I think it's sleeping and fucking. You know?
Got it. Okay. So it's just this old married couple. Leave them alone.
Right.
Please. Yes. Please leave them out of this bullshit.
But they might not want to be left out of bullshit because
This is true. I really want Vermithor to be like, Vhagar did what now?
Yeah. I hate that bitch.
What the fuck have y'all been doing out here?
Right.
He says, he mentions the 3 wild dragons plus a score of eggs that he has incubating, basically. Listen, I take it back. Aegon is not the Nick Cannon of Westeros. Daemon is.
It's Daemon.
What? A score is 20.
Yeah.
What? So he counted at the end 13 like hatched dragons, whether they be adults, capable or owned or not. He's counting 13 dragons versus their 3.
Well,
plus the 20 he has
4,
cooking.
Which is interesting.
Does he say 4?
He says 4. So that is Alicent's missing son, Darren.
Okay, listen.
As a dragon. Yeah.
Okay. I honestly did not hear 4. I'm taking your word for it.
Yep.
But this bullshit, like this, why are we doing this? Like, why do we need this kid? Is he important? Because this whole idea. I mean, listen. I don't care if it's like, well, we just didn't meet him in the first season for whatever reason. Whatever, do what you want. Right. But like the idea that nobody has ever mentioned this motherfucker.
Right. Not even mentioned him
at all. Like, not once. So the first time we are hearing about him, and to the people who are like, but if you look at the blood things in the beginning, shut up. Nobody is studying. Like, how the, like, first of all, they had to tell people what that was.
Right.
And what it represented. They had to tell you, this is what this is. Game of Thrones opened like this. This is what we went with. The blood represents this. They had to tell everybody. So everybody relax for being like these Game of Thrones scholars with this thing. But the idea that we're supposed to be like squinting at that and being like, oh, Alicent and Viserys have 4 blood trails. Like, okay, ugh. Anyway, the fact that nobody mentions this kid is wild to me.
It is. I don't know why they didn't just put his sentences. There were any number of times that they could have mentioned him. We've seen Hobart like 3 times, and that's who he's staying with. So why couldn't he have said, "Oh, your son Darren sends his love"?
And what would the purpose? Is he's just like sort of ward or squire? I don't know what the fuck they're called.
Yeah, he's just, he's the leftover, so he's learning, Hightower business. Which is treason,
What's the most unfortunate Kardashian? That's who he is what you're telling me?
Right, yeah.
Is he Courtney? I don't know anything about those women. Let me stop. Okay. They're like, you will never matter Targaryen-wise. Go learn how to count shit or something.
Right.
Go.
You're never going to get to you in the line of succession. So just hang out with your uncle.
Oh my God, that old dude. This miserable child. And I'm assuming he has the white Targaryen hair.
Yeah.
Okay. So here come Otto again. First of all, they were like, yeah, there's a ship approaching. It has a 3-headed green dragon banner thing.
Yeah.
Is that Aegon's thing? Tacky ass.
That's a good question. Because that's not, I think that he actually had like a gold dragon, banner in the book. So I don't know if this is like Alicent's messenger sigil that she's integrating the Hightower with the green banner, or if this is just Aegon's banner on the show.
Okay. So they meet on this little bridge here, the infamous bridge. And Otto gives Aegon's offer, which is Rhaenyra could keep... first, I'm sorry, I've skipped the opening where he's just like, where is the princess? I was like, motherfucker, you need to take some of that bass.
Princess.
Yes. I was like, you need to take some of that bass out of your voice, first of all. That's, we need to back the fuck up a little bit. He was so disrespectful. Everything about this was disrespectful.
Yeah.
Including the way Rhaenyra rode up. Again, you think he would stop coming without his own dragon.
Right. Where is she? And all that is just a whistle for her to turn up on a dragon.
Oh my God.
And she was a lot less careful this time.
Yes. She's like, shit sometimes happens. So he gives Aegon's offer, which is that Rhaenyra would keep Dragonstone, her heir, the heir to Dragonstone would be Jace. Luke would remain the heir to Driftmark. The boys that she has, Viserys and Aegon, would be like squires or cupbearers or some shit at court. Always have high, like. Daemon was like, I would rather feed my sons the dragons than have them be cupbearers for your drunken usurper cunt of a king.
He was very thorough with that note.
And I believed him.
Yes.
I was like, oh, he would absolutely pull a Beloved. Have you read that book? I shouldn't spoil it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, oh, he meant every fucking word.
And frankly,
Rhaenyra was like, will you shut up? Those are my sons too.
I would too, because, cupbearers and squires are essentially hostages, and that's what they would be. And Aegon is crazy, and to have him witness the kind of shit that Aegon gets up to when they're 6 and 8 years old, or whenever it would be appropriate to send them, would be such a mistake.
Yeah.
It was just, but this is the offer that you would make if you were.
Right. And here's the thing. I don't believe any of this.
Oh, no.
Because you don't have Otto spend 9 fucking episodes saying how Rhaenyra would kill Alicent's kids.
Right.
Like, that's just what... And then have him... Like, let's be clear. When he sent Westerling... When he thought he was sending Westerling... He was sending him to kill everybody.
Yeah.
Like, to wipe those kids out. Right. So, I just don't believe for a second that this was anything that he would honor.
Right.
That he would let Aegon honor.
I agree. They might go through the motion of setting all that up, but then Otto would simply continue moving forward with his plans to have them all assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to have two little boys disappear. It happened, in real life in England. So, they just snatched up the little princes and nobody's ever found their bodies. So.
That's like what happened to them boys also. Were they Lannisters? No. Who were those boys? Who did they kill? The North killed. Rob's men killed those two boys. Were they Lannister boys? Do you remember in Game of Thrones? Remember in Game of Thrones, they had two boys. And they were
yes.
One was played by the boy who went on to play Tommen when they aged Tommen up.
Yes.
They were Lannisters, right? Yeah. And the Rob's allies killed them in revenge for something. I don't remember what.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what happens.
Yeah. Otto talks about Aegon's legitimacy with the, how he was sworn in by whom, in front of folks, the crown, the sword, all of that. And Rhaenyra takes the hand pin and chucks it into the ether, and she's like, "You are no more a hand than Aegon is a king. Fucking traitor. Fucking traitor." I was like, yes.
Love it. I think it's interesting that when he says, he's talking about the houses that are all receiving, quote, generous offers from the crown, and how they'll probably accept them, although he's projecting. And she says, but they all swore to me. And he said, yeah, well, I mean, you and Viserys were the last to realize it. And it's essentially he's admitting that he knew that's what Viserys
because he said you were replaced basically the moment Aegon was born.
Right.
And it's just sad that you and your father are the last to see it. But yeah, to your point, that show he doesn't believe Alicent.
Right. Still.
Right.
The pin thing, I loved that because I think this is a great rewrite from the book, because in the book it's Orwyle who comes, the Maester, who comes to present these terms because he thinks that everybody else will be too inflammatory. And of course Otto can't resist, and so that was probably a good idea. And so Rhaenyra reminds him, that you swore to my father, and now you swear to me, and here you are carrying out this treason. And so she strips him of his chains and gives them to her own maester. And I don't think that's nearly as effective because we haven't really focused that much on, maester chains. So the pendant, we know, is a big deal for Otto.
And also, we don't need to do anything to that precious black man that kept Viserys alive as long as he did it with ginger ale. That's right. And saltine crackers. No. So when he asked the maester to bring that page from the book for Rhaenyra, David was like, what the fuck is this? So what are we doing? What is this, Secret Santa? What are we doing? What the fuck are you doing?
Right.
He really just wanted to kill this man, and I know he's right. He should have just fucking killed him. Yeah. Anyway, when she says, oh no, Daemon pulls, he says, you know what? The queen can have her answer right now. We'll send it shoved in her father's mouth with his withered cock.
He's so creative.
I love that he says, Sir Eric, please bring me Otto Hightower so I can do it myself. I was like, yes, let's go. Because they'd have lost. Because Cyrax was like, yes, I've been waiting.
Yes, Cyrax is back there. Even though Rhaenyra is so controlled, Cyrax is back there talking shit.
Yes. Even when Otto first started talking, I like that Cyrax was clearing his throat and shit. Or her, wait, Cyrax a girl?
It's a girl.
A girl. Clearing her throat so I could sometimes not hear what Otto was saying.
When a bitch says what? What?
Right? Disrespectful.
Yeah.
So disrespectful. So Rhaenyra, with the tear falling from her eyes, she tells him to stop, and she says that she will give the queen her answer tomorrow.
Yeah. The page trick, it's interesting. I feel that it's a gross miscalculation on Alicent's part to pull this. Like, I see that she wants Rhaenyra to see that these terms from her are sincere. They're coming from her, and that she's doing this because of their previous relationship. But to do this to send this page, like, remember when we wrote notes to each other in class? And then I married your dad and I killed him, and now my son is taking over your house? Yeah, so can you just accept this check from us, please? Like, it's just the gall, and then the irony of the material that it's about being Nymeria, who is this warrior queen who, brought like equality to Dorne.
Yep.
And that's what Rhaenyra is doing.
And Trump voter Alicent is doing the exact opposite.
Right.
She's putting a rapist in power. Yeah. I saw people, like, because of this page saying, like, lesbians confirmed or lovers confirmed. I hate y'all so much. I hate y'all.
Oh, I also heard some people say that because the page is about, it says something like her people were lashed together in the storm, and the storm dispersed them to the east and the west and whatever. They're like fleeing the storm. And so they were saying that it is like this secret message from Alicent that she agrees with Rhaenys that they all need to pick up their shit and leave, Dragon or whatever. Like, I don't see that, because I feel like we're already past the secret assassin stage.
Right.
Right. I don't think that would be helpful.
So they're around the painted table again, this time discussing Aegon's, I should say, offer. And she is considering it as she puts to the table, what is her responsibility, to her people, to the realm, if not to hold it together. Why, if there are other options besides war, shouldn't we, do those options? And Daemon is like, girl, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, we are already at war. Okay, so listen, I'm gonna be honest here. I see both sides of this. I do. That there are people who insist that the war started with Luke's death. Yeah. Or even that the war, even before this episode, right, when we were talking about Rhaenys' decision, that the war hadn't started yet.
Yeah.
To me, and maybe it's clouded because we all know what's to come, right? Like, even if you haven't read the book, I know we're not doing this for peace. Like, I know we're getting to some, dragon death. Right, yeah. I know where we're going. But even still, it feels like to have this happen, to have it happen the way it happened, to have her, especially someone like Rhaenys, seeing, because as far as we know, I saw some people say, well, the real dirt behind how the Greens did this isn't common knowledge. Like, they locked up the staff, right? And they locked up whoever was a guest, like Rhaenys and all that. Like, but it's not like there were like heads on pikes outside the gates, and and they made a point to make his ascension super official and the whole fanfare and all of that. And so I'm like, okay, but I feel like Rhaenys busting out, like, I don't know. It seems fishy to me. I felt like war had started, but I get people saying, well, no, it's not war until it's really war, until somebody like fires a shot. I get all of that, but like, I also get what Damon's saying. Like, I get when Damon is like, they've already declared war.
Right.
Especially if anybody in that room, and this is interesting because I don't think it ever came up in the episode, if anyone in that room doubts that the Hightowers or Aegon would stick to those terms, right? Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Who do you think you're dealing with? So it's interesting that I don't think anybody ever said one way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah, but, like what terms would they stick to?
Right.
That
and
you
so it's
could believe.
Yeah, and so it's like, doesn't that tell you something though? Like, who you're dealing with? Like, it's already war. They usurp the crown. Usurping the crown to me is war. But yeah, I don't know.
I think part of the problem in this perspective is that the show, by having Rhaenys bust out and all that stuff, it's kind of muddled, you know, where the line is. Mm-hmm. Like up to this point, if no violence had really occurred, and, you know, only some minor lords and small folk, God bless them, had disappeared into the black cells and never came back out again. Well, that kind of thing happens every day anyway. And that's just what happens. So they might have been able to work something out. But because we're already on, you know, we're really on step 4, pretending that we're on step 1.
Right.
You know? So, yeah.
But yeah, Damon, you know, like I said, I saw where both sides were coming from. And to be clear and to be fair, I understand that's the kind of leader you want. You don't want somebody around the table who's like, burn everything. You want somebody who's going to consider. I just felt like me knowing, like, it felt like she was considering, do I let her kill us off one by one? Or do I take the nation to war? It's like, you know, and then, of course, by the end of the episode, she loses another child. And I'm like, oh, I just hate it. You should have burned them fuckers. But anyway. But yeah, Damon is like, what are you going to do about it? And that's when she has the room cleared. And she... before this, I like the line where she says that, you know, when Viserys would talk about the histories, he said, whenever dragons flew to war, everything burned.
Right. And I like that he's like reminding her, you know, like, we know that this happens, blah, blah, blah. She's like, hey, like, I grew up with Viserys. You didn't. I heard all this stuff. You don't have to dragon-splain to me. Like, I have been in the Lego set, you know, all the books, heard all the stories. I know.
No, but, you know, he went to Pentos and read a few books, so.
Right. So he's like, did you read the books that I read?
Right. But yeah, he asked her, you know, like, aren't you angry? Like, and I love that she admits that, yeah, but like, I should take us to war because I'm angry.
Right.
When she brings up the Song of Ice and Fire, he chokes her. He says, dreams did not make them kings, dragons did. His brother was a slave to his omens and portents.
Yeah.
And she took from that, oh, wait a minute, you didn't know.
Yeah.
And I would have been like, but wait, also, motherfucker, don't put your hands on me.
Right. Back up, first of all.
Bitch, I got a dragon too. I am queen. Like.
Right. And there was, you know, a lot of talk about this scene. First of all, I thought the editing of the scene was strange. You could see that this is the one scene here, besides the Cyrax scene, with just people that I didn't like the editing of this, because you can see that there are multiple takes, and in each take, he's got like a different attitude. So in one take, he's growling and scowling at her after he lets go. But then in another take, he's slightly closer and is like reasonable. And then he's further away and like looks blank. It's weird. So I feel like they couldn't decide what they were doing with this scene. And I don't love them adding this in here. Now, yes, like I've read all the think pieces about how we know that Damon is a violent man and why he's already killed his other wife. Fine. Good. But for me, it didn't bother me in that way because he's he's come into this relationship thinking they're both dragons, and he's like, they're not Viserys, right? Mm-hmm. And Viserys is this like dreamer guy, and now to find out that he's like, this like strength is strength, you know, mm-hmm. like it's a violent object lesson, but he's making a point, and nobody else make that point, please. I do not endorse this. Thank you very much. Talk to my lawyer. But he's making a point, and she comes off of it laughing in his face.
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't even know what I'm talking about. Viserys never told you. And then he realizes not only did his brother never consider him truly the heir, because he didn't tell him whatever this is. Mm-hmm. She also hasn't told him whatever this is and continues not to.
Right, because I was like, that's the one thing that frustrated me. Like the choking thing, I just want to say. Like the choking thing, I feel like I saw a lot of people. Okay, I'm just going to say it. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. I know you read fan fiction. I know a lot of our listeners read fan fiction. This is not about the fan fiction. It's not. But I'm going to use this term anyway. But it's like the fan fiction shippers, right? Like, they love this shit. They love this couple. They're reading the fan fiction more and more. I get it. That's cool. Well, I don't get it, but I get it, right?
Yeah.
Like, people don't get my obsession with BTS, so whatever. It is what it is, right? Like, everybody don't have to get your shit.
Right.
But what it feels like, Sarah, is that this shit, like, they have been the little mashup videos and stuff was like, Rhea, like, wasn't the woman for him, and Massaria wasn't, and Lena wasn't good enough. He's been waiting his whole life for Rhaenyra, and now in this episode he gripped her ass up, and they're like, wait a minute,
her too.
Yeah, her too. No, she's supposed to be the one. She's supposed to be special. He's supposed to be different. And it burst that little bubble. Yeah. And like I said, it feels like the show has decided to make him, I guess, worse than people in the book. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe people just got it wrong. I don't know. But certainly he wasn't like a good person. But it feels like the impression I'm getting is that a lot of book readers are kind of shocked by some of the things he's done and not like happy about it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it felt clear to me that, oh, he's just a piece of shit. And now it makes sense to me why they edited out things like him comforting his daughters. Because honestly, I forget that those are his fucking daughters when they're in the same room with him. Right. They don't want you, they're telling you who he is, and y'all just got to believe it.
Yeah.
He's a piece of shit. And guess what? It's still okay to like him as a character. You can be like, this is fun. You can make little sexy jokes. That's cool. But also we can admit he's an abusive dick.
Sure. He's an anti-hero at best.
Yes.
And probably less anti-hero, more villain. And I know why they're doing this edit. I understand why they're introducing this this fracture between them. And I get it. And given the compression of TV and all that stuff, we don't really have time to delve into the gray area of Daemon Targaryen and like how he's a good guy, but also a really horrific, like the worst person you've ever met. So they have to grease the wheels for next season and all the war crimes to come, of which there are many. So I do wish that they had maybe given him some of his more infamous lines, at least. And I don't love that they added this violence in towards women, because it feels like Game of Thrones in general kind of defaults to this, and they're like, well, we just have to show you he's a terrible man. oh, okay. Well, I mean, believe me, there are pages of crimes that Damon commits that you could have shown us that part.
Right.
But if this is how they do it, I can see why. So.
So yeah, like you said, she actually, I guess, can be seen as her coming out on top on this scene, where it's just like, you didn't know, and then he has to walk off being like, no, I didn't know.
Right.
You're right. Corliss is awake. Yay. And first we addressed the fact that he abandoned his wife. He was like, it was too much. And she was like, I needed you.
I love how he woke up joking, and she was like, fuck you. Yeah.
Of course, when you're in the wrong, you got to be the one that you have to do that.
Right.
Yeah. Coming with the jokes. You're testing the room to see. She gonna let this joke slide, or is she gonna kill me? Or is she gonna open this wound in my neck?
Right.
She gives him the news of basically everything. His brother.
Yeah.
Viserys, Aegon, everything.
It is funny when she tells him about Vaemond, and he's just kind of like, well,
yeah,
that was gonna happen.
Because like when she first tells him, he like starts to sit up, and she tells him the details, and he's like, oh, that makes sense.
Right.
He's like, I'm gonna lay back down because I am in pain. He had that coming. Okay.
So many years.
Nothing for me to do here.
Right?
Oh my God. When he's like, we're done fighting for the Iron Throne. I was like, what? I mean, I get that that's what they were doing. Like everything, like him being on the council and making moves and stuff about positioning his family as, high as it can go. I get that. And I get that he thinks that part of it was to right this wrong against his wife. But just the phrasing of that, I was like, I don't know. I guess because I'm used to, through the series, that meaning like literally killing each other for it. But I think he meant just like moving pieces, like getting his family closer. But either way, the pursuit of that is done, and she's like, well,
about that.
She's like, those are still our grandbabies, on paper anyway, and they are in danger with all this treason going on.
Yeah.
And he is like, look, that girl is a hot fucking mess. I mean, I gotta say,
which is not untrue.
I was just gonna say, I love the fact that like if you could, like, I like Rhaenyra. I do. She gets the fuck on my nerves sometimes. Sometimes there's like 2 episodes where I didn't think I liked her, but I'm rooting for her, even though I know I'm rooting for her.
Yeah.
But if you are a hardcore Rhaenyra fan, if you take yourself out of that, put yourself in Corliss's position, she absolutely does ruin everything she touches. And he's making a lot of sense when he's like, I'm not fucking with her.
Right.
But Rhaenys points out that Rhaenyra is the only one around that table not with a hard-on for war.
Yeah.
She's level-headed. Yeah. And this seems to impress Corlys.
Yeah.
So he enters the chat, right? He got a cane now, and he's asking all these questions about where they stand. I like the moment that he looks over at his grandchildren, because, well, technically on paper, 2 of them are his grandchildren, 2 of the 4. But he looks over at them, and he's like assessing everything, and he eventually pledges his house and his ships to Rhaenyra.
Yes. I even think that he likes the fact that she has sent Daemon on an errand, because that is something that Viserys used to do. When things got too hot around the table, suddenly he found a new job for Daemon.
Okay, but did she send him on an errand? Because I thought the last we saw, because I was going to actually, I'm glad you said that because I was going to ask you about this. The last we saw was him stomping off when he was like, no, I didn't know about the song of what you call it, Fire and Ice. No, I didn't know about that. Like, you know?
Right. So I think she was like, go play the dragons.
Because I wondered, I was like, I was going to ask, like, does she know that's where he went? Because it turns out later we see that's where he went. Like, he went.
I think so. I think she knows, about his, dragon husbandry.
Okay. So she says, don't take my caution for, inaction or fear or anything. Like, I want to know who my allies are before we go to war, before I send them to war. And then he chooses now to be like, well, guess what, bitch? I got the stepstones on lock.
Love that.
He was like, I just needed to know where you was at. But listen, he's like, this time I have garrison set up. He's like, so we control this shit. We'll cut off all of their travel and trade into King's Landing.
Yes.
If it comes to this. I was like, yes, squad up.
So he mentions the gullet, and just kind of like visually, if listeners aren't familiar with this area, it's there's like a mouth essentially that's opening out, and if you come all the way in, it ends at King's Landing. Mm-hmm. But you have to go past Dragonstone, Driftmark, Blackwater Bay, all that stuff to get to King's Landing. And so they've got all, as I mentioned earlier, they've got all the lords that surround that whole area. Mm-hmm. And then so Dragonstone is right smack in the middle of the open mouth. And at the top, that's like between like Claw Isle and like all the guys that were present first. Mm-hmm. And then on the bottom, though, you've got that like kind of dragon's tooth coming up, and then so the area that forms between the tooth and Dragonstone is the gullet. So it's kind of like going down the throat. Or whatever. So it's very narrow, and that's what
Rhaenys offers to patrol. Right. On Melees.
So pretty doable with a big dragon.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Jace, and then this is when Jace offers up. I love that fucking Corlys was like very impressed with this. He was like, the prince is right, that we shouldn't be sending ravens. We should go ourselves, and we should go on dragon because it's more impressive. And I was like, yes, that's true.
Right.
I would absolutely travel by dragon every fucking where I went, should I have a dragon. And should I ever leave the house.
Right. To store, whatever.
Right, wherever. So Jace is decided, like, again, when this came up, I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, no. I was like, look at them. What are you thinking? Right. But I get it because it's just different. And they have dragons. That's the kind of like the downside of it, right? They're going to maybe make you think that you are maybe more ready for something than you actually are. But, I get that we're in a world where these kids are betrothed at young ages. And, what did they tell Lena? She wouldn't have to bed Viserys until she was, 14? And what's his name? Luke was 14. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I don't even want to think about that. Especially because they cast Rhaenyra looking like 40. Ugh. I don't like that. But anyway. So I get it. That they treat... these are men to them. Still.
Right. Jace is of age and Luke is 15. So within like 6 months he'll be of age.
So, it's like... I get it. I get why this was... And then, she gave him the shortest route.
Right. Jace's whole idea behind this, not only, I mentioned earlier that they aren't who they are in the show, in the books. They're highly trained. They have a lot of experience. But Jace's idea is also to underline their Targaryen heritage.
Yep.
Because he says it's going to be really hard for them to call us bastards and when we pull up on dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody knows that only Targaryens can ride dragons. So when we turn up in their front yard on a fucking dragon, what are they going to say? They're going to have to say yes.
I mean, and I get that, but also his mom, the Targaryenness is not what's in question.
Well,
it's
right.
the Valarianness, the Valarian. Yeah.
Well, kind of though, because they keep calling them Strongs, you know.
Right, but that's what I mean, though. It's like I think it's because they're questioning Rhaenyra, right? They're never really questioning whether or not they're Targaryens. They're questioning whether they're basically they're just trying to figure out if she's a whore because they're men. Right. Yeah. That's all they care about, really. Yeah. So yeah, Jace is going to go to the Vale first, and then to Winterfell, and Luke is going to go to Storm's End. And I was like,
oh.
And then that's when I remember what you said, and I was like, yeah. Not going to be good. Before they leave, she makes them swear on the 7-pointed star, pointing out that people believe that Targaryens, because of their relationship with dragons, are closer to the gods than men. But to lead these people, if they're to lead these people, meaning the people of the realm, I forget how she phrases it, but she has them promise on their gods, the 7-pointed star, that they will not engage in any fighting. They are just messengers.
Right.
Yeah.
It's important that they stick to that in order to preserve their guest right.
Mm-hmm. Which we all know how that turned out almost 200 years from now. And this is so sad because she's like, oh, off to it. And it's like, oh, like she's putting him on a school bus. Oh.
I know. And, you know, she does mention that Boros is a proud man. But she thinks he'll be honored by the fact that a prince is visiting him. And it's just that, like, she views, this is based on her experience with the Baratheons. Like, the book calls the Baratheons, at least Boromund, his father, the staunchest of allies. So she doesn't, there hasn't been any indication that Boros is different, you know?
So wait, the one that's there now is Boros.
Yes, is Boros. So
and
that's Boromund's son.
Who was the one that was with her when she was interviewing possible husbands?
That's Boromund.
The father.
And yeah, the father. And he was also the one in episode 1 who asked for Rhaenys' favor from the queen who never was.
Yeah.
So he was always, you know, the staunchest of allies. He was always on Rhaenys' side, even though he was kind of grumpy with how Rhaenyra was treating the men, you know, in line or whatever.
Okay, because I wondered if that was going to be an issue, but it's 2 different men. This is his son. Okay, got it.
Right, exactly. So it's kind of like, you know, just like imagine that you have like this kind of grumpy uncle, but like he's 100% loyal to his family. He even like served as like your chaperone for prom or whatever, and you would spend like the summer with him or whatever, and he might have been kind of an asshole, but he was like, okay, like, when your father dies, I'm going to back you up. I'll give you my lawyer, whatever. And then, like, so you never have any reason to believe that, like, why would your cousin be any different?
Right.
So she sends Luke over there thinking, like, remembering all these decades of extremely loyal service from the Baratheons.
But see, the difference, though, is, like, in the show, we don't know any of that. Right?
Yeah.
Like, in the show, honestly...
we just kind of have, like,
You know what I mean? In the show, honestly, me and if you told me this was the same guy, like, this was the guy that was sitting next to her when she was a kid, I would absolutely believe you. Like, that's how unclear... Yeah, I don't even think people really got, and I think we may have talked about this in that episode, that's that she was with Baratheons, or at
right.
Storm's End when they did this, or wherever they were when they hosted this thing. But anyway, I feel like here, without any book knowledge, what it looks like is that she was once again ill-prepared and miscalculated. Because when you say to your son, first of all, and I get you have the lie, you gotta stick to the lie, right? But the first thing she told him was, you have Baratheon blood through your, and I was like, no, he don't.
He's like, what?
Right. But you ain't nobody listening, and you're about to send this boy off on a mission based on some bullshit. Right? You starting off wrong, Ma. Like, no, you could have saved all of that. She could have just said the next part, which was the whole, you're a prince, he's going to be honored. But when she said, where I feel like it feels like a miscalculation to me when she says, he's a proud man.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, he is, and what are you offering him? Also, if you know this, like, don't you know that motherfucker can't read? You brought the terms.
I don't think she does. Yeah.
On a, like, she don't know enough. She's just kind of shit she should know. You brought the terms on a scroll, and fucking Aemon walked in there free dicking it. He's like, I can marry whoever fuck you want me to marry.
Right.
I'm not betrothed.
I'll marry several. Because I'm a Targaryen.
And look, I rolled up on the biggest fucking dragon. What you want? I came myself. You want to see my sapphire eye? Fucking weirdo. Right.
Right.
But you know what I mean? Like, it feels like in the show, without knowing anything, because I don't think anybody watching the show knows that she has that kind of, like, relationship with this man or this family. Right. So for her to be like, he's going to be proud. And it was like, everything was the exact opposite of what she said it would be.
Right. Yeah.
So it just feels, in the show, it feels like, God damn it, Rhaenyra.
Right. Like, in the books, the impression that you get is that if she sent some kind of gift or something, then to, like, Boromund, that he would have been like, what is this for? I am coming over there and getting on the War Council, just, like, get my shit together.
He'd be offended,
He would be insulted by an offer. Whereas, Luke pulls up and finds out that he's this, like, illiterate QAnon guy, who, like, and then
Nick Offerman Baratheon, because that's what I thought it was.
Yes, like, as it turns out, he had been, and it is funny in the book, where he's basically been sitting there chit-chatting with Aemon about, like, these bitches, He's like...
Absolutely. He was calling them females.
Yeah. Yes, he was like, I mean, I love girls, like, I have 4 of them, but, like, these bitches, you know what I mean? And, like, Rhaenyra, she'll give up a crown and she'll be fine, because that's how females are. That's essentially what he was saying.
Yeah.
And
so they've just been yucking it up.
Right. And then when Luke shows up with nothing, because he just was expecting Boromund.
Just cuteness and a lot of optimism.
Right, and he's like, come on, Uncle. And he's like, I don't think so.
But he does, and I know we're jumping ahead. Well, let's talk about really quickly Daemon visiting Veronica. He comes in there singing an old High Valyrian lullaby of some sort, a ditty with a torch. And this dragon...
Scary.
Holy shit. Like, the way... everything about the way this is shot, because when he walks into this, like, cavern, it's, like, dark. You don't see anything except for what's lit by this torch. And he places it down as he's walking slowly, he's singing. I think it was Michael Guy in the group who's like, it's basically like, it's like, hey, I'm here, just, I speak your language. One of you, don't get spooked. There's a person entering. I mean you no harm. Yeah. And when he sets it down, they do this thing where it's like a shot from behind Daemon, and it's just this vast blackness in front of him. And that dragon could be anywhere. It could be any size. But because of the shot where Daemon looks like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the dragon is huge. and then it just appears with this roar and just like lighting up the ceiling, and it's just right.
Yes.
Also, why don't they leave these old dragons alone? This is not a second time. Leave these dragons. They're old. Let them just sit back and collect their Social Security. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, because they need them. I love on just as like to bring back Jaehaerys again. I love that everybody thinks of Jaehaerys as this peaceful, the conciliator. His crown is Rhaenyra's crown. So Viserys was wearing Jaehaerys' crown, and it's this blend of silver and gold, also designed, the balance of the realm and all that stuff. And the first thing live that we see of a representation of Jaehaerys on the inside is this fucking monster.
Yes.
And it's scary.
No, I'm sorry. I was just you called it a monster. You think of the size. I just don't even know how humans would have the balls to approach one this big.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's so nasty.
Yeah.
Like all the spit strings and everything like that. And the song. So David Peterson, who writes the language for this show, posted. He's been posting translations on the fanfic website on AO3, like it's a chapter of fanfic.
Oh my god.
Yes. And so he posted this, and the song is about dragon binding, which is so interesting to me, because we've all, just from Game of Thrones, remember Dragonbinder, the horn that we were all dying to see go into action, but we never really got there, and they dropped it because D&D are scared of magic and all that stuff. And
we decided that this wasn't a magic show partway through. It's like, and what?
Then, if you remember listeners, if you remember the show when Sam found that horn in the snow with a bunch of dragon glass and stuff, and that kind of dropped off. And so in the chapter that George has released from Winds of Winter, they have Euron.
Greyjoy.
With this Greyjoy. With
That's
this
right.
horn.
Yes, with that horn, I remember.
Right, and he convinces these men from his galley. Convinces like he does everyone. Tortures them, right? They don't really have a choice, but you have to have a sacrifice to use this horn. So whoever blows the horn, it kills you. And we never get to see it in action because we haven't gotten the book yet, but we do get to see him, one of them uses it, and then they just boiled from the inside. Uh-huh. So to think about how Daemon has been digging into dragon binding. So that's the thing with Dany's dragons, is that they were always scared that Euron would find something that would turn her dragons and use them against her.
Right.
And instead they, just forgot about the Iron Fleet and had him kill them with the Dragon Bolt. But because they couldn't deal with this magic stuff. But I think it is reasonable to think that maybe Daemon is digging into dragon binding because he's worried they won't be able to find riders. So in this way, maybe he can command, the riderless.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because the one thing I thought was interesting at the end of that scene was the eye contact and the way that was shot. It was you felt like something happened. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Something clicked.
Yeah, that was a meaningful moment and not just a cool shot, but maybe that's just us. I don't know how other people took that.
Right.
Yeah.
I think people, I hope that people got that message. I don't know that that's what it is for sure, because this isn't a part of the book, but I think that's where they're going with it. And there was also an interesting line that says that there was a price paid in blood. And I'm wondering if he is counting the death of their daughter towards that price, or if there's some other price that he's going to pay, if he's... if he's offering himself as part of this, I don't know. Yeah. So it'll be interesting.
You know what's just absolutely just popped into my head, because I was wondering like how much time would have passed, but when we come back with season 2, but I just feel like you don't end this way and not pick up immediately.
Yeah.
Like, or somewhat immediately, but I don't know. It would be really interesting if there's like and when I say time jump, everybody relax. I mean, it could be, a couple of weeks, but it would be really interesting if it is a very short, time has passed, if it just throws us right into the thick of it, where, like you said, Aemond is, already thought of as having killed this kid. Like, it's just, like he's claimed it. Like, this is who I am. Like, I did it on purpose. Like,
yeah.
Because
he has to. Yeah.
Because we didn't talk about this, I don't think, because I didn't get it until I think later in the thread that I don't think we talked about this on the podcast. This is different than the book, right? Like, in the book, I think it's my understanding that it's like this wasn't an accident.
Right.
Like, he was trying to kill this kid, and he did.
Yeah.
And here it was clearly that it doesn't seem like that's what he was trying to do. That he was trying to kill him. It's interesting. Right. So I would imagine, now that I think about it, I would imagine that because of the way the book is written, which I know we haven't mentioned today on this podcast, but it's like different people's accounts of these events. So it's like, journal entries, that type of thing. How what happened here would only come from Aemond, right?
Right, unless they're just writing Aemond fan fiction, like the Maesters.
Right, but I mean, it would have to start with him, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, anybody could, why think, somebody would, right? Because, they left. I know we're jumping ahead, but they left. And it's why not? Anything could have happened to Luke.
Right.
So, I don't know. Maybe they're going to find the bodies and it's going to be like, these are dragon teeth. I don't know.
Right.
But it feels like just on the surface, you follow what I'm saying, right? Like, on the surface, Aemond is the only one to say what happened, to come back and even say, to take credit for even being there, that Luke is dead. And then it would have to be up to whoever, journals this stuff or, keeps record, like the Maesters or whatever, to tell it the way he told it or to put their own spin on it.
Right. I think it's maybe they fly pretty far away in this instance in the show. And so one thing that they point out about the discussion, in Storm's Inn, is that there are, quote, plenty of witnesses. So they're all, that account is supposedly pretty solid. But then, and he screams out, "I'll have your ire, I'll have your life." And then, so then there are people that watch them get on their dragons, and they say they can see them grappling in the sky.
Okay.
And then the little dragon drops out, and then a couple of days later, the body washes up, the dragon's body.
Okay.
But never Luke's.
So,
yeah, so then they're kind of filling in the blanks, with what happened. So, but I do assume that as far as what Aemond says he says, that story probably does come from Aemond.
Right. Because, I mean, in the show, it feels like they were a distance away.
Yeah.
Because they went through, like, that Star Wars crevice.
Yeah.
So it's like, so it's interesting, though, that it even ends with Rhaenyra finding out. Because it's like, even if the only account of this is Aemond's, it would be like, how would it get to her that fast? Or it could just be something as simple as, he should have been back and he's not, and we just, I don't know. But clearly it is, she knows. Like, her reaction is that she knows her son is dead. So when, like you said, when he arrives, and that motherfucking Vhagar,
oh my God.
With, what is that hanging? Is that, her jowls? What?
Yes.
Oh, my God. My girl.
She's like a pelican.
Yeah, Yes, my girl needs some Botox. She needs
a chin lift.
But you know what? Fuck it. She's like 110. How old is she? Like, let her...
I think she's like 160 or something.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Look the way you want to look, sis.
Right.
But don't eat the babies. What are you doing? Look at your life, sis.
They don't even take the ladders off, so.
Right. She's just how she is how she comes. That's it. Right. But yeah, we see Vhagar, and it's like, dude, go home. Turn around, be like, there was nobody home, Ma. The lights were out.
Right. That little Arax is so cute. And I've said so many times, like, I'm trying not to get attached to these dragons. But as soon as he took off, even from Dragonstone, it was him and Melee's, and then Jason's dragon, and I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but
Vermax.
There you go. He's just so little, and I think Devin and I were talking about how much he looks like Sea Smoke.
Yes.
And I wonder if that's one of like Sea Smoke and Cyrax's.
And I noticed that when, because we didn't really talk about that scene, like you said, the three dragons took off together. I saw some people confused as to who the third dragon was, but that was Rhaenys.
Yet again, they don't point out that
She's like Gen X. It's like,
yes.
Everybody just like, who's that again?
I'm a dragon, for Pete's sake.
Oh my God, you've seen me 3 times now, motherfuckers. But anyway, I like how the camera follows Luke. And it's kind of like, okay, we won't be seeing these two again until season 2. But the camera follows Luke, and then he, it's like above him, and I noticed the coloring. I was like, oh, that looks like Sea Smoke. Yeah. So he goes inside anyways, brave little baby. He's like, I am here from the Queen, Prince Lucerus Velaryon. Velaryon? No, wait.
I think he says Velaryon.
Velaryon. No, I'm trying to make sure I'm saying it right. Velaryon. I always have the Velaryon and Velaryon. And I like how the guards are like, another one? Like, another prince is here?
Right. Didn't you see the semi parked out back here?
Right? Like, you are a brave one. But yeah, it goes horribly. Again, because this guy is proud, and Luke came bearing gifts that he can't read. Yes, we have to wait this ridiculously awkward amount of time for the maester to come to read this shit. And, Aemon was clearly fresh off his wife pick. Like, he's like, I just took this one, there's 4 left. Like, it was just all so awkward, and he was just like, he called him a pup. He's like, go home. He might as well have called her a whore. He's like, tell your mother. It's like,
right.
Jesus Christ.
It's like, I don't have to do what your mother, the whore, says because I can't read.
Right. He's like, this sign isn't going to stop me because I can't read.
Exactly.
But he's like, yeah, all I have to do is acknowledge the king and get all of this stuff, and you're offering shit. So he's like, okay, well, I'll go tell my mom what you said.
Right.
And then this is when this fucking man-child, which, again, what are the ages supposed to be? Like, how much older is he supposed to be? Because it didn't feel like that big of an age gap, again, when he took his eye. But now it's just like, this is like a middle-aged man and a middle schooler.
Yeah, so I think Aemond is only supposed to be 19 here. So
yeah,
there's 5 years difference. Yeah.
That's a hard Westerosi 19. And that's a damn shame, because he's royalty. His life should be better than most. He should at least have a skincare routine. My God.
I think the actor is like 26, so...
Well, they're not doing him any favors.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it's any coincidence. I don't want to say anything about it. So. I don't want to insult him, but...
He ain't listening to this.
There are certain faces that they hire for Middle Ages and Dark Ages. Things like the Vikings shows. And there is a reason for it.
Yes, absolutely.
He was previously in The Last Kingdom. So.
Yes, I saw the photos. Yes. So yeah, he just starts fucking with him. He's like, you owe me an eye. I want to give a present to my mom. And we see that he removes his eye patch to reveal that this fucking psychopath has put a sapphire in that socket.
Oh my God.
Now you gotta, like, what happens? Like, he must not have any, like, nerve endings, like, active around that area. Otherwise, like, he feels that, right? That can't feel comfortable.
No.
You ever put your contact in on the wrong way?
Right. Yeah, I guess he just lost the whole eye. Maybe it's an empty socket.
Okay, so it's like nothing. It's like it's like if we put in a tampon.
Right.
Okay, that's fair. So he like wants to fight, and Nick Offerman is like, look, I may be an illiterate bastard, but you guys are. I'm not allowing this guest rights bullshit to go down here in my hall.
Right. Like,
he's like, I'm no Frey.
Blood from the Blackwood, situation the last time your mother was here.
Right.
So
no. So I like that he tells the guards to escort the prince to his dragon, which is like a phrase that you can only say on this show.
Right.
Welcome to his car. So when he's running to his dragon, like, it feels like it's like the rain's coming down way harder than it was when he landed, right?
Right.
And it's obviously darker. Could you hear? Was what's his name? Aemond already racing to get to Vhagar?
You couldn't see that.
But could you hear, what was that? Because he kept looking behind him as he was running to his dragon, and his dragon was agitated. So I didn't know if it was like the storm, but I feel like I thought you could hear Vhagar. Mm-hmm. And it was a combination of like that and the storm that was agitating, what's his name? Arax.
Yeah.
And that this is when Luke starts to calm him. It is a boy, right? It's a male. Before boarding him. But
I know, I think that the dragon, I can't remember if Vhagar was roaring at that moment, but Arax knows that Vhagar is there. She was roaring.
And does not want the smoke.
Does not want that smoke. He is upset about that, about the storm, and he's picking up Luke's vibes.
Right.
Yeah. So he's just acting out. It's kind of like, like the direwolves, like Shaggy Dog. Mm-hmm. Like they don't have control completely. There's a point where they get worked up. Yeah. And he just like bites people because Rickon is feral, you know?
Right.
So same thing, this dragon is very, very young, and he picks up that Luke is really upset, and he's just like, let's get the fuck out of here.
He's like, he called me Lord Strong again, that motherfucker, I'm gonna take his eye. I do like that fucking Luke pulled out his sword when he charged at him. Like, he was gonna die either way, apparently, tonight, because he wouldn't have won. It wasn't
going to go well, for sure.
But I like that he was like, fuck it, I'm not going to go out like no punk. Like, come on, let's do this. Oh my God. So, yeah, he takes off. And Donnie and I were talking about this when I was watching it for notes. This shit right here, this was so good. I really don't have any complaints about, like, how this was shot. Like, I felt like I could see. And when I couldn't see, I'm convinced they did this shit on purpose, especially right before when the camera's kind of like panning from like left to right, the length of the dragon after like the storm breaks, you know?
Yeah.
And you think everything's okay. And Vhagar ends up coming like from the front, like the side, but there's like a pan across. You think it's Vhagar, but it's the clouds. And I'm convinced that there were so many times where before you actually saw Vhagar the first time above him, you thought you saw her.
Yes.
But it was on purpose. Like, I'm convinced that, but yeah, I'm convinced the way they shot that, like, that was on purpose. It's kind of like a jump scare, but not really, you know?
Yes. They filmed this like a horror movie or even like Jaws.
Yes.
You know?
Or I call it that scene in the thread that night, Lost Boys,
Yes.
When the vampires are like taunting Michael. Yes. And he's hanging from the thing. Because this was so I just was like, baby, please get home. And I knew he wasn't going to make it home. Like, I didn't know how, like, this was going to happen. Like, I didn't foresee what we got, which was this kind of, like, dragon chase.
Yeah.
After, and I guess we should talk about it, give it its due. Like, the first time we see Vhagar is above him, and you can just see the size difference.
Gorgeous. Oh, my God. So stunning. Love
and
it.
Terrifying.
Yes.
So he does eventually, like, lunges at him, and he's teasing him. He's, you owe me you owe me a debt.
Yeah, he's cackling.
Yeah.
Like a villain.
Yes. And he's having, like, fun with it, clearly. And Luke is just trying to get away. And at one point, Luke, it looks like, it's like this, I don't know, what do you call it? It's not a crevasse, right? No, this is too big for that. But it's like, this gap between, looks like mountains, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And it's just, big enough for Luke's dragon to get through, but clearly Vhagar was never clearing that, ever.
No.
Like, not even when she was 30 could she clear that. She's always been a big girl. She was not getting through that. And so Aemon has to, like, pull up, and he's, like, riding above, like, kind of watching, looking for Luke, but Luke's dragon is faster. Mm-hmm. And he kind of gets ahead of him, but he's still yelling and taunting about what he owes him, and Aemon loses him for a bit. Yeah. And I love this because Eric's comes out, like, fire going, but before the fire, you hear Luke say no. Yeah. Like,
he knows what he's going to do.
Yeah, Luke was just trying to hide.
Right. Yeah, and that is a point that they make in the book, is that on any other day, when there wasn't a storm, Arax could have gotten away.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because he was smaller and faster, and Vhagar takes so long to, like, rev up, and get where she's going and whatever. But because of this storm, the size,
Yeah. So then he takes off, like, after firing that shot. Vhagar's like, what the fuck? Like, Visenya, the fuck was that?
Right.
When did Dorne get dragons? So she takes off, and even here, this is where Aemon starts saying, Vhagar, no, serve me. Because he doesn't have control of even steering this dragon at this point. This dragon is going after... Yeah.
As soon as that little puff of fire hits Vhagar in the face, Aemon knows what's going to happen. He's like, no. And she's like, Vhagar, yes.
Too late.
She, like, roars back at him.
And this shows that you only control them as much as they allow you to.
That is correct.
And that is true of any animal, honestly.
Right.
Absolutely. So, yeah, she chases him down. And there is this, and it's both of them trying to control their dragons. And it looks like Luke gets away. And like I said, there's this horror movie is just the perfect way to describe it. And then, Vhagar comes out of nowhere. Chomps. And like, this was like, what's the word I want? This was... I can't think of the word. This wasn't, like, necessarily personal. It's like, you got me, boom, now that's it. Like, this wasn't about, like, relishing in it, I don't feel like, for Vhagar, because she, like, bit and let go. Like, boop, spit it out and just kept going. Like, it was like, don't fuck like with me. Yeah. Vhagar didn't know she started a war.
But Vhagar wanted to start a war, maybe.
Absolutely.
Like,
but yeah,
she loves that shit.
Vhagar didn't start a war, but Vhagar also doesn't care for war stars.
Right.
Vhagar's down for whatever.
I was bored anyway. Yeah.
He's like, you keep your dragons in check. Don't start no shit. Won't be no shit.
Right.
So, yeah, and this Aemon is yelling no. So, yeah. So, again, in the book, it's just kind of this. It's not. It's written differently, right? It's relayed.
It's a hunt.
Yeah.
Aemon intends to kill him.
Right. But the show has decided
how he kills it. Yeah.
Okay. The show has decided that this was him not being able to control his dragon.
Right.
And a bunch of other unfortunate series of events. The weather. Also Luke not being able to control his dragon, because you could say if Arax didn't do that, then that wouldn't have happened. Like, he probably could have hidden and stayed, you know?
Right.
So it's just like a series of shit.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say again that, like a lot of people were upset that this, you could say, well, this wasn't Aemon's fault, so it's almost like an accident, and then other people were for it because, it wasn't his fault, and, that makes the war a bigger tragedy. I mean, I would prefer to look at it like, let's say, manslaughter, he's in a semi on a rainy highway, and he's playing chicken with a kid on a bike. And then you're like, oh my god, I can't believe my brakes locked up.
Right.
Yeah, you can. But I mean, he's 19.
Right. He may not look it, but he is. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, he looks 57. But
right. But okay. I'm going to pull up the feedback. I want to say, you said something and I like it stuck because I was thinking like word for word the same thing, that I suppose having him, having it not be on purpose, it does make everything that's to come even more tragic. But I'm like, does it need to be more tragic?
Right. Isn't it just kind of tragic regardless?
Yeah, it's just all so tragic.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first feedback is from, and I had skimmed through these. I want to thank you guys because they're all just like, they're not super long. So yay. And so I should be able to get everybody's thoughts in, which is what I wanted to do for the finale. So Kimberly W says, hello, Nina and Sarah. Look, it's whichever of the Rick twins that's on Rhaenyra's side, and he brought the crown with him. Rick twins.
Rick twins.
Did you see Rhaenys's face when Daemon said they have Malice? She was like, do you now? Looking at Rhaenyra's crew, all I could think about was LL Cool J and Jingling Baby when he said, how you going to go against an army with a handgun? See, Rhaenyra, this is what happens when you spend years failing to cultivate allies. And we see the first crack in the relationship between Daemon, king of the ain't shit niggas, him and his unclaimed son, Aemon. I don't care what nobody's saying. That respelt name is no accident. Just like I think that Rhaenyra's oldest boy is Kristen's son. Jesus Christ. She's saying this is the first crack in relationship between Daemon and Rhaenyra. The minute she started sounding like Viserys, I knew it was coming. Just like she should have known that the High Towers. That's a really good point, because he was so fed up with her shit. Just the way he was frustrated with Viserys, the same frustration. Just like she should have known that the High Towers had to jump on her in terms of reaching out to people. But she stupidly thought sticking to the lie that her children are Rhaenys's grandchildren would carry weight without Viserys backing her. One kingdom, one baby, one dragon, and one son down. She did lose a lot. Yeah, when you talk about that, she lost 2 children in this episode.
Yeah.
And I took issue with, I think it might have been one of the after things that was on. I can't imagine it was something else. I think I let it play after the episode, so I wasn't really watching it, but I heard it. And when I heard it, I typed in the group. I just hate that we treat, on this show in particular, motherhood and childbirth as this punishment. Yeah. And so and it came from somebody on the show saying her body turned against her and And I don't know. I didn't like the phrasing of that.
Yeah.
I didn't like the phrasing of that. And they were like, this is like the most, important conversation of her life, and her body is turned against her, and she's like, being punished or some shit. And I was like, yeah, I don't like that. I don't like it. I get it. We could get it without all of that. But anyway, she says, high towers for Rhaenyra 0. So much loss, but I think she's in the game now. The question is, will pain and fury be enough to overcome her years in the making deficit? Speaking of her being in the game, I didn't mention this. Donnie pointed this out. The fact that when Daemon walks into the room to tell her, her eyes are on him immediately and stay on him the entire time that he's, walking. And the camera really isn't focused on her, so you can't see exactly like what, I would imagine she had to know it wasn't good almost immediately, especially from the way he was walking towards her. Yeah. And then the whole, when he tells her, and you can tell the moment that, he tells her, and she starts kind of like doing that. It's almost like when she was in labor, like rubbing, like gripping her thighs, and she stumbles, and okay, the next feedback is from Kadeem R, who says, hey Nina and Sarah, I hope you both are well. What a season. I knew Aemon had that dog in him, but little did I know that Vhagar would have little Lucerys in her. Oh, you are. I don't think she did. Now, so you said in the book his body is not found. From the scene, it looked like he just chomped and spit everything out. So I just assumed Lucerys died in the bite.
Yeah. It was right in the middle.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
I kind of looked at it, like a shark or like an alligator when, a big alligator when they attack somebody just out of instinct, and they, drag them to the bottom of the lake or whatever and drown them, and then they take like one bite and they're like, oh, that's not what I wanted. Yeah. And that's kind of what she did, where it was just like chomp. Ugh.
And then the stuff that she spit out. So she didn't eat this kid, did she?
Not unless he rolled down her stomach or something. Yeah. But she didn't intend to.
Right. This poor child. This is terrible. What a terrible way to die.
I have to give it to him. It was a very thorough bite.
Yeah. They left. So there are people who are like, maybe he's alive, and I'm like, were y'all really paying attention?
Right. Well, that's a book rumor, where it was like.
No, I mean, I've heard people speculate from this, because the things that are falling. Could you survive that? I'm like, no. The fall alone.
Right. They were hundreds of feet in the air.
Right. Even if he survived that bite, he's not surviving that fall.
Right.
Okay, so that sounds wild out of context with having Lucerys and Vhagar. But hey, you know what I'm saying. I know Luke didn't start it, but Arrax decided to fuck around and breathe fire at the last surviving dragon of the conquest, and well, he found out. Anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed this season, and the fact we have to wait until 2024 is agony. Yes, I would have finished Fire and Blood by then, but it's not the same. No shade, I'm liking the book thus far. Rhaenyra's going to go full scorched earth next season, and I'm ready. Yes, the look on her face was definitely scorched earth.
Yeah.
It's coming.
That's the dragon.
I'm neither team black or green. I'm team pass the popcorn and show me the madness. Thank you for the fantastic podcast. I've agreed, disagreed only a few times. What the fuck you got to disagree about? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Now we have to fight. No.
Right? Like, what? I've agreed, disagreed only a few times, but I've always had fun. I'll be here when you return. Kadeem. Yay! Thank you, Kadeem.
Thank you.
Marion B says, hi Nina and Sarah. I'm always late with watching the episodes and getting my feedback in, but I made sure to write in for the finale. I have not read the books, but thank you, Sarah, for insight throughout this season. Yes, round of applause.
You're welcome.
For Sarah's brain. Thank you, Sarah. Aemon is my problematic fave. I'm team black, but I'm definitely enjoying every moment Aemon causes havoc. Yeah, see, that's like the thing, right? Like, it's okay to like the fact that these characters are good at being bad, and that, it's way more interesting to have a character, a villain, you'd be this invested in not liking the villain, if that makes sense. You know?
Yeah.
Like, even Otto. Oh, my God. I can't wait for him to die. Like, all the villains, like, every last one of them. And to me, the Greens are the villains. I'm sorry. They just are. I cannot wait for them to die. And if they don't, I'm going to be upset. And if they do and it's not terribly violent, I'm going to be upset. Oh, my God. Otto, that whole time when he was like, he wears his crown, wields his sword. Ugh.
Right. And what an attitude, too. Like, that really tells you where they're at, right? Because they're looking at it as, I don't know that they're fully looking at it as the fact that Aegon is the conqueror. He's saying the conqueror's crown, but like, doesn't that speak to the fact that this is conquering,
right,
and not your right?
Right. And for Otto, it's just he has a penis.
Right.
He has a penis, and it puts him closer to power.
Exactly.
Then he says, I hope Alicent and Otto are ready to learn the equation, what you fuck around plus found out equals. I really, oh, God.
I don't think they think that applies to them.
And you know what sucks? It's like, this is one of those, well, this universe is one of those universes in which, you know, anybody could get it at any time. It feels like, especially in a situation, like, we've talked about this before, when the stakes are so high and the weapons are so huge and these motherfuckers have dragons, like they're riding around on missiles, like, you expect a high body count. Like she said, everything burns, right? That being said, if this is enough material for 3 seasons and that's what they're going to go for, it just sucks because I feel like they ain't killing people like Kristen and Otto if they die until season 3. And I hate it.
They're saving the good shit for that.
Right, and I hate it because I hate them so much. I can't wait. Anyway, Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen, why did you send your baby on that suicide mission? Is it suicide if he didn't volunteer for it? He didn't know. That was Jace's idea.
Poor Jace. He's going to get fucked up about this.
Oh my God, right? It's going to be so interesting because, again, I don't know how much time will have passed when the show returns.
Yeah.
But I feel like we know that we're not getting it till 2024. I just feel like they're going to look older. Like, Jace is probably going to look older. Yeah.
I'd like them to use his regular hair because he actually has gorgeous, dark, curly hair. Like, why not?
Oh my God. Now please send me, I got to look this up. What's his... Oh my God. Look at me sending the podcast to a halt because literally about to say to you, what's up with his hair? And then you said that and I was like...
Yes. Like, he's posted pictures of himself on Instagram or something with the actress that plays Bela. And they're like hanging out together and they're like the beautiful people together, you know?
And he has nice hair. Yeah,
he looks more like a Strong with his regular hair.
Okay. Is he Harry Collette? Is that his name?
No.
I think that's him. No, wait. No, this is him. Yeah. Oh, he looks super young. Like in the pictures that are when you just... And you know what? And one of these...
on IMDb?
Yeah, well, I just did like a Google image search, and so there's like a bunch. But yeah, I see a really young one. But there's one in particular I'm going to send you. He kind of reminds me of Merlin. Well, who's the guy who plays Merlin?
Yes.
It's particularly in this photo. He was in Humans, the guy who played Merlin. All right, I just sent it to your messenger.
All right. I'm going to try and find that picture and put it
Okay. So I'm gonna continue reading his feedback while you look for that. So he says, the battle of Eric and Eric. Yes. I'm telling you, we gotta get like a Mountain versus the Hound type thing. I get confused between which brother is with who, but I'm excited to see that fight. Eric with an E is Team Black.
Yeah.
And Dragons next season. Thanks again for all the reviews of the shows you grace us with. You are welcome, Marion Peanut B. We got 2 more. The next one's from Anton. Sorry, my son's in the kitchen making himself something to eat, so you may hear some kitchen noise. Okay. Dearest Nina and Sarah, in the end, there was not enough Pinot Noir and Advent to calm my nerves for this finale. Yeah, I was good and high. I wanted to scream at my TV. I wanted to choke Damon out. Sorry. I don't know why it was so funny to me, because I didn't take it in like a violent that way. I took it in a sexy way for some reason. I'm sorry, Anton. I just did. I wanted to choke him out. I wanted to hug Luke and send Rhaenys to Storm's End itself. Yeah, he wouldn't have fucked with Rhaenys.
For sure.
Yeah. Even though I know how the story ends, I'm just not ready to see it all play out. Yeah, and I want to say this. I don't know if I've been clear, but if you don't know how this ends because you've not read the book and you don't remember a lot of like the kind of side conversations in Game of Thrones, and you don't want to know how it ends, don't rewatch Game of Thrones. Like, don't be like,
right,
between now and this long wait between now and House of the Dragon, I'm gonna don't. If you don't want to be spoiled, because it spoils. That's how I not got spoiled, but I remembered something that a character said, and then I was like, okay, so that's how I know something. So just and I would prefer not to, even though, again, we know that none of this is going to have a happy ending. But, like, details and stuff like that, it made me know a detail that I just really didn't want to know. But, again...
And don't Google.
And don't Google, right. But then again, I, didn't, remember this. Like, if you've already seen Game of Thrones, you know this stuff. You just don't remember,
You just don't remember,
Yeah, and if you want to keep it that way, don't try to do a rewatch. Just rewatch this shit over and over. Go watch The Last Kingdom.
Right.
I can recommend some K-dramas, historical dramas. Yeah, come on.
Interview with a Vampire.
Right. Yeah, we're actually going to be doing episode 4 tomorrow. We're supposed to do it tonight, but of course this takes hours. Okay, almost done. So, Oh,
I posted that picture in the chat.
Oh, okay. Hold on, let me go look at that real quick. They doing
this was one of the ones that I didn't want anybody to. Aren't they cute?
Yeah, look at his hair. Why? This looks like Harwin Strong's boy.
Right?
Aw. It calls her the Mrs.
Adorable.
Boy, you're 4. Stop. Oh man, this is so. Who's Rhaenyra gonna marry now?
Good question. Poor Rhaenyra keeps losing out to Aemond. He took her dragon. He took her boy.
I would love it if she's the one who kills him. Now that you bring that up,
Right.
That would be kind of awesome.
Love Rhaenyra.
I really want, I'm so curious. I don't know anything about these girls. I really hope they don't just kind of fade into the background. Especially Bela, since she's a dragon rider.
Yeah.
But also, I know being a dragon rider means probably nothing good for her, but I'm just saying, I really want them to be active, Sand Snake active, badasses. But we gotta get
the writers remember to keep them active.
I want Rhaenyra to get a dragon. Okay. Yeah. So he says, the Vhagar scene, no, wait, hold on a second. Oh, Team Black is going to start this all up, aren't they? Well, I guess that's why they're the ones to root for the most part. The Vhagar scene was so good, it felt like watching a shark attack, which is what you said, happened slowly with how her shadow just loomed over Luke. I was not ready to see it happen. My only main gripe, truly, is making it seem like it wasn't Aemon's fault because he lost control of his dragon. But honestly, I'm at peace with it now. This is like horror stories you hear on the news of kids sneaking into their parents' room and playing with guns. Yes.
That is true.
And accidentally shooting someone. Aemon has no idea what he's doing, and he's way over his head. Oops, I've committed a war crime. Exactly. Let the dance begin. Until season 2, love, Anton. Mm-hmm. And then finally, Ty M says, hi, Nina and Sarah. Hope you're feeling better.
Thank you.
Just wanted to add my 2 cents feedback on the finale, but first, I must have a mini rant. Ooh, I can't believe we have to wait 2 motherfucking years for season 2. Unbelievable. Okay, I'm fine now. No, you're not.
We're not fine.
We're not fine. We're not going to be fine. You think you're fine because we're just still a few days removed. Give it a couple of weeks.
Right? I'm only fully myself when Game of Thrones is on in some way.
Right. But like Sarah mentioned earlier, there's some good stuff. There's interview with the Vampire is great. If you haven't, you guys should start that. We're covering it. Like I said, we're supposed to record for episode 4 tonight, but it's probably going to wait till tomorrow. That's really good. And I'm thinking about, I wanted to do some shows for the people who are subscribed to the premium show only. Like, that's the only way you can hear me or anybody else talk about it, is through that tier. And I'm thinking about doing, Donnie, what's the name of that show that just dropped on Amazon Prime? Is it Peripheral? Peripheral, I think. Look at me fucking it all up. There's that, and then there's also, is it also Amazon Prime or is it Hulu? Peter Capaldi has a new show. It's like I think he's like a serial killer or something. Yeah, I'll send you the trailer when I'm done. Let me write this shit down so I don't forget to send it to you. Girl, yes. So I'm thinking about doing that, and I'm if I'm not mistaken, it's not even like a lot of episodes. It's like a British thriller. It's like 4 episodes or something like that. I'll send you the trailer to it. I meant to post it in the group to let people know that I'm thinking of covering that. And like I said, there's another show. So I'll put the trailers up online, post them in the group so you guys can see. But my point is, there's a lot of interesting, good stuff to kind of fill our time. Kindred starts in December. We're also covering that. We're covering 1899, is that what it's called? From the creators of Dark.
Yes.
So we'll have stuff to keep us busy. Can't wait.
Oh.
So we'll have stuff to keep us busy. Won't be the same, but it'll be good. Oh, and Moji, our friend Moji has been recommending, I've seen her doing this online, The Serpent Queen.
Oh, yeah.
Which is on Stars. I don't have Stars, but I heard her recommend that to a bunch of people. So if you haven't seen that, you might want to check that out too. So to kind of, scratch the itch. Okay, so then Ty says, on to my feedback. Even with the loss of her father, her infant daughter, and childbirth, Rhaenyra's coronation was beautifully done. Yeah, it was. Eric pledging his loyalty to her, handing her father's crown to Daemon placing it on her head and proclaiming her my queen, while all bent the knee. I did wonder, as Daemon held the crown, was he thinking it should be mine? I thought, I took that as like it's a tangible, like Viserys is really dead.
Yeah.
Because the crown is here. Yeah. This made it real. Oh, because I didn't even talk about the scene of him on the beach.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And you know what? I think I might have cut myself off earlier. I think that the stuff about Daemon and people being upset that it seems like he's bad all of a sudden, we're like, no, where you been? I think that's why they cut out scenes of him like comforting his daughters and stuff after Rhaenyra died. I meant to say that earlier. They clearly decided this is not who he is. So it's interesting that they decided to show him be vulnerable about Viserys.
Yes.
His one true love.
Right. And the baby. Okay. I think that was kind of like a dual purpose.
Was it also the baby?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think that was like he went to see her and she was on the ground and then he went out to the beach.
Okay.
So it's like multi-purpose mourning or whatever.
Fair.
Like, yeah, sure. I mean, he does have feelings.
Of course.
And I agree. I think that Viserys was right, that Daemon doesn't want to sit on the throne. Mm-hmm. He's only ever wanted to be useful to the person on the throne. He never imagined it would be him. And I agree that in this case, that he looked like sorrowful.
Yeah.
This is Chris's crown.
Yeah. At least that's how I took it as well. I hope that's what it was. This whole sequence gave me chills. Does Rhaenys not bending the knee mean anything? I don't think so. I really do. I mean, we were kind of joking earlier, but I do think she doesn't have to.
Yeah. I mean, she never does.
Yeah,
but
never.
But she dedicates herself and her dragon to guarding the gullet. Mm-hmm. And that's useful and important. So it's not important that she doesn't kneel.
Right. And I mean, this is twice now. Like, she doesn't like bow her head when they in the room in the with the painted table later. Like, she's the only one who doesn't.
Yeah.
She just looks at her and they smile at each other, and I just kind of felt like that was like an acknowledgement.
Yeah.
I was going to make a comparison that'll probably get me in trouble, so I'm not.
Come on.
Yeah. Nope, y'all not canceling me. Nope. Not today. Anyway, where was I? Oh, speaking of Rhaenys, Corlys is back. They are that couple. I just love them. Me too. After his criticism of Rhaenyra, I wondered for a sec if he'd go rogue and join Team Green. Oh, thank you for saying this, because I meant to say this earlier. I feel like you had to, I think maybe for the, like, not killing Rhaenyra for real is like a great decision. I love it. Still, I think it's important. You know, I'm glad, especially because the week before we had a gay man pulverized in front of everyone.
Right.
That being said, I also feel like it was important for, because I'm assuming this is in the book, right, that Corlys and Rhaenys do take her side. And I feel like if in the book it's ambiguous how he died, like, I don't know, it just feels like a really hard fucking sell. And maybe they still question, because he says in this episode she was complicit in her son's death, and Rhaenys does not agree or disagree with that, if you notice.
Yeah.
I wonder...
She's all for that.
Right. I feel like the audience... I think it's important that the audience knows that she actually isn't, and you feel... It makes you feel better about them siding with her, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Because I think if she was complicit in it, and really did kill him, or whatever, like, it would just be icky. Like, who would want to watch these two continue to risk their lives and their dragon and their, grandchildren for someone who killed their son? I don't know.
Right.
I feel a little bit better about the fact that, they don't know, or that they're supporting her, because I know that she really didn't do it. But that's just me. That's just me.
Yeah. It's less ambiguous in the book. They just think he got himself killed messing around.
Got it. After his criticism of Rhaenyra, I wondered if he would go rogue and join Team Green. I was like, Negro, you better recognize and do right. I'm glad he chose Team Black. I do, like, it's weird, though, that, like, he walked in there on his cane, and, like, he was doing a lot without declaring. And I was like, okay, brother, you need to start declaring, because you're saying a lot of stuff. You're getting a little out of pocket. You're making like, where do you stand, though? Like,
right. Like, this is top secret information.
Right?
If you're not going to sign on, why are we having this conversation? Because you're about 5 steps from not being able to leave this room alive.
Right. Why are you in the war room? So it was kind of obvious where he was going to go, but yeah. Daemon Rhaenyra conflict. I didn't see him becoming physical with her, almost strangling her. I'm like, excuse you, Daemon, you better respect your queen. I mean, he murdered Rhea. I mean, I guess people think that, I don't know. I'm not as, I didn't like it, because it's just, I don't, like, I love her, get your hands off her. But, like, the character. But, like, this is who I'm rooting for. Stop it. But I'm not surprised that he did it.
Right.
Yeah. Finally, Ty says, Lucerys Arrax. That's going to be my new Valerian Valari.
Is it Eric's or Arax?
Arax. It's just, I don't know. And I know,
it's his twin dragon brother.
Arax and Arax. I know people listening at home are like, girl, this shit is not that hard. For me, it is. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. I'm bad at shit like this and geography, right? Those are my weaknesses. Aemon, Rhaegar, dragon battles. No, wait. Who's Rhaegar? Aemon. You mean Vhagar. Yes. Dragon battles. Rhaegar. Who was... that was Jon's father, right?
Right.
Vhagar. Okay. I felt that sense of foreboding when Rhaenyra referred to Lucerys as her sweet boy earlier in the episode. How about when she rubbed her thumb along his fingers? And I was like, oh my God. He's not coming back. She goes, I breathed a sigh of relief when he finally got through the storm, only to be stunned a second later when Vhagar appeared out of nowhere and attacked. I figured Lucerys would be a casualty, but not in that manner. On initial watch, I thought Lucerys initiated the battle when Arrax nearly Dracarys, Aemon, and Vhagar. However, on second watch, I saw that neither could control their dragons, which resulted in tragedy. I felt Rhaenyra's pain at her loss and her vengeance brewing from within. Season 2 is going to be so fire. I wonder if we will get big dragon battles in the Season 2 premiere. Good question. Too bad we have to wait 2 years to find out. That's all I have. Take care, and thanks for the excellent podcast this season. Thank you. Thank you for listening. So that is it, Sarah. We're done. That was 10 weeks.
My goodness.
All enjoyable. Now our watch begins. Our wait begins. But I want to thank you, as always, for taking time out of your life each week to sit down and talk to me or talk with me about this. I know that me, you, and Ellen have plans to cover a show together based on another true crime dramatization podcast. This one starring Elizabeth Olsen. I have been waiting. I keep looking out for the release date, and I was just adding stuff to the schedule for November and December the other day, and I didn't see it. But then again, there it is. The Peter Capaldi show is called The Devil's Hour. When does that premiere, Donnie?
8 o'clock on
October 27th. So in 2 days. So I need to plan that out if that's what I'm going to do. But it's on Amazon Prime? Yeah, Amazon Prime. And it's, I think I'm going to cover that for our time travel tier. Speaking of which, that's appropriate because he's the doctor. Did you watch that finale, by the way?
I only watched the scene.
The scene.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm gonna.
I gasped.
I know. I asked Donnie, he was like, "What?" I think he thought something was wrong. I got I gasped and I got all choked up.
Yes. So verklempt.
What did you say, Donnie?
And then Jack just started watching that.
Oh yeah, then Jack came in here the other day or yesterday, and he was like, "I'm giving Doctor Who another shot." So he's in season 1 with Christopher Eccleston.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope he likes it.
Me too. So, but anyway, all that to say that there is a lot of good stuff coming up, and some of it will include Sarah. So it's not like this is the last time you'll hear for the next 2 years before House of the Dragon. But as always, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for subscribing, and we'll talk to you next time.